Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Nintendo Prime Podcast, episode 36. And you know what? We have a special person I want to share with you guys today. You guys ready for this? Bam. We got Mr. Hoops and Hip Hop in the house. How's it going, everybody?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
No problem, dude. Thanks for reaching out. I know you were tagged on Twitter, and to be honest, I took one look at your account, and I go, this bastard ain't going to... We're not going to hook up. This isn't going to happen. Whenever I see like 200K channels, I'm like, they got better things to do than mess with me. But I do appreciate he was tagged like by a few people on Twitter, and he reached out, and I was like, this is great. So I'm glad that you reached out for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always down to do stuff like this, and to be honest, you caught me at a good time because usually I am like super busy, but it's
there's
kind
a new
of
Pokemon
like
game coming. I figured now's the time.
It's kind of like the calm before the storm right now, because it's like I've done all my like prep work I need to do, and now I'm just waiting for it to come out. So I'm kind of like, I got a little more free time, so
a little more.
I'm excited to be able to chat about it as opposed to just like making videos
content
and stuff.
Yeah, I always think of the content ideas and all that. Oh, dude, I hear you for that. I'm that way when Zelda games come out. It's like, yep, I got a huge Zelda background, so I have lots of Zelda content I gotta do before the game gets here.
See, Zelda's like it's basically like my other favorite franchise along with Pokemon, and it's kind of like the one that I can just like, I guess, enjoy. I don't have to worry about making content. And so like when a new trailer drops or something, it's just like so refreshing because it's like, oh, I can just watch everyone's reactions and stuff. And I don't have to do anything.
That's awesome. So as always, folks, I'm your host, Nathaniel Rufflejans, joined to my immediate left by Mr. Eric Moore.
Oh,
welcome.
Yeah.
Are you alive?
Possibly. I don't know. Last I checked. Nope,
not here.
Nope.
So obviously, guys, we got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, Pokemon. I mean, guys, we have a very interesting Pokemon release coming. Well, we'll get to them. You guys know Pokémon Legends Arceus. It's out. Maybe it's out by the time you've heard the podcast. Maybe it's not. I don't know. If it is, you probably see me live streaming and other people making lots and lots of content and streaming it and doing all that great stuff by then. But for right now, at the time of this podcast, it is not here yet. Arguably a little over 24 hours away from possibly being able to play the game, depending on when they let you do it. It depends on time zones and eShop like letting you use it. Usually you can play it on the eShop first, unless you're one of those people that ordered a physical copy and it already arrived at your house. If you are a lucky bastard. That's all I can say there.
Well, I heard Amazon was the one that screwed that up, and I was just like, how do you screw that up?
Pre-order
if you're
there.
Amazon.
Damn it. So yeah, somebody messed up and like people were getting them today, and I was like, well, I mean, that's 2 days early. That's like a day early happens, but 2? Well, damn it. It's okay. You know what the problem, folks, is even if it arrived early for me, the moment I try to put a video out on it or stream it, Nintendo and Pokemon Company will just take my channel out. So probably good that it doesn't arrive early because I'd be too tempted to be like, what are they going to do to me? Oh, yeah, they'll just nuke the channel because the Pokemon Company is Nintendo's strict, but the Pokemon Company is... I'm surprised my last live stream is still up after playing the official old school theme song. They only took the money from the video. They didn't take the video down. So that's progress, Pokemon Company. Last time I played that song, you nuked the whole video. So, and the time before that, you copyright striked my video. That was fun. I'm like, that's kind of weird. I was singing in that video. You don't know my voice. Get out of here. But I mean,
Well, if you do anything related to the anime, it's like you're basically stepping on really thin ice.
Yeah. You're the worst thing they've ever seen.
The game stuff is as far as videos anyway, you can get away with pretty easy. But the only issue I've had with games is the music in the game. Like if I let a clip of music play for like 10 seconds, no, that's our video now. It's like, okay. Yeah, you got to be.
Nintendo let up on this. Why can't you? Come on now.
Yeah, a third of them are Nintendo. That's what's weird about it.
I know. Like Nintendo used to be that draconian, but they're not anymore. Now you can pretty much use any game you want, any music you want. I can even use it just as background music, and no, they don't care. But if it's Pokemon music, forget about it. Although we did have some Pokemon music to kick off the stream.
Yeah.
If you guys didn't know, that was actually created. All that music you heard in the 10-minute run-up was made by our special guest. Used to do a lot of those kind of remixes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
fact,
it's kind of like
yeah,
it's basically like a side thing now. So
yeah, because I wanted to mention, okay, I have seen some of your videos pop up in my feed before. A couple of series that you've ran that really seem to have done really well for you, really blew up. But I always was confused. Hoops and hip hop. Look, I'm basketball. We were just watching the Bucks. I'll probably lose.
Yeah,
they probably lost. Yeah, watching the Bucks Cavs game. You know, and I like hip hop music. So it's kind of like I see the name and I'm like, oh, cool, man. It's like a basketball. Oh no. So I want to explain like how you got started on YouTube, and then like you don't have to go through the whole story, but how it ended up transitioning into being this Pokemon guy.
Right. So, I mean, you're not the first person to ever ask me that. That's for sure. Not the you won't be the last one either. So basically, like, I am a big music person, a big basketball person. I mean, you can't see it on the podcast, but I've got this big Michael Jordan cutout in my office. So that's like a thing I enjoy. And so, like, when I was getting into YouTube about, like, literally it's almost been a decade, because in September this year it'll be a decade that I've had my channel, which is crazy. But I was just thinking of things I could call myself, and that was like the first thing that popped into my head. And this was all before I knew like YouTube strategies or anything like that. I was just going in completely blind, and so I just gave myself that name and started doing stuff. And basically a few years passed, I kind of figured out what I was doing. And by the time I figured out what I was doing and started to like kind of gain some traction with my videos, people knew me as Hoops. And like, that was how people knew me. So I was like, oh, well, I could change my name, but then like, it would just be like this whole process and people already know me as Hoops. So I just stuck with it. And
yeah, it's like people call me Prime all the time. And like,
yeah.
No one cares about the Nintendo part. You're Prime. Oh my God, I got it.
Yeah.
I mean, now you just got to hope that the Pokemon company come out with Pokemon's name, Hoops and Hip Hop. I mean, and then you're golden.
Oh my gosh, should they come up with a game called Pokemon Hoops?
Well,
awesome.
people always like to be like, oh man, I thought your name was Hoops and Hop Hip, because it's Pokemon Hop Hip.
Yeah,
so it's kind of close,
but not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite. All right, cool. Well, yep. There's a little background on our guest for those of you that might not know who he is. He is a fairly decently sized Pokemon YouTuber. There's a lot of Pokemon YouTubers out there, guys. You guys think the Nintendo YouTube community is huge? Go just type in like Pokemon YouTuber. Literally just type that into YouTube, and you're gonna see a lot of people. But the reason is because Pokemon is one of the biggest IPs in the world. And before we talk about it, because gosh, it's so hard to put off the Pokemon topic with the Pokemon guy.
Right.
We gotta do what we always do at the beginning of every podcast and start by talking about what have we been playing lately. I mean, I know what we're gonna be playing in like a day, but what have we been playing lately? I'll start with Eric. You got anything you've been playing lately? Or have you just been chilling?
No, I played a little bit more of Stick of Truth, and
nice.
Getting through that. It's a South Park game, so it's fun. I mean, I'm having fun with it. So
it's right up your alley.
Yeah,
I love the comedy. Like,
oh yeah, for sure. So I mean, that's all you've
been playing. That's cool. That's cool. How about our guest Hoops? What do you got?
Well, the last thing I did play was Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Not to be too Pokemon centric, but that was the last game I played as of today. However, there are some games other than Legends Arceus on my on my backlog. I picked up the Ace Attorney Chronicles games that came out like last year sometime, and I haven't got into those yet, but I'm dying to get into those because I love Ace Attorney. So that's probably like the next thing I will play after Legends. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, after Legends, there's going to be a laundry list of games. Yeah. I mean, just coming up, there's Project Triangle Strategy and Kirby. It's like not far away.
Yeah, Kirby is another one for me because it's like that game just like looks so interesting. Like the 3D platformer genre for like basically any Nintendo franchise, instant buy for me. Mario Odyssey was like amazing. And I'm not really much of a Mario guy, even though I'm wearing a Mario shirt right now. So when I saw that first trailer for Kirby, I was just like, sold.
Yeah, and then the second one they showed just, I think, sold pretty much almost anybody else who was doubting after that first one. So lately, well, as a lot of people on my channel will know, I just finished Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, getting through the Elite Four this past Tuesday. So I guess yesterday. It was quite the experience. I wouldn't say that I cheated. I did use proper in-game mechanics called trading to just happen to have a bunch of level 100 shinies and just wreck face through the Elite Four. Now, I didn't have those shinies until last night. I didn't go into last night planning for that to be the case. But that's just what happened when someone said, hey, I'll trade you some level 100s. And I said, good, because I hate this game.
Oh, no. Well, you kind of like ruined the best part of the game because...
Oh, I know. Everyone's been telling me you're going to love it when you get to the Elite Four. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. And I said, guys, this is our last game stream before Legends Arceus. I got to be done with this thing. And I was finishing off the team whatever crap on the mountain right before you get Dalgia. And then I had to do the 8th gym. And by the time I got done with the 8th gym, I looked at the clock. I'm like, God, I got like an hour to go. How? Oh, level 100s. Because like there was no way I was going to get through Victory Road and all the way to the end and actually beat the Elite Four because all my Pokemon, like my highest was level 55, the rest were in the 40s. And I'm like, I already know I'm going to have to grind. I'm already going to have to level. I'm already going to have to and the thing is, I ain't got time. So I'm not even going to get through the Elite Four. And I told everyone, if I don't beat it before Legends Arceus, I'm never beating it because I don't like this game. This game is not fun. I've been frustrated this entire time. It's the stupidest gaming experience I've ever done for 7 straight live streams in my life. And I never want to turn it on again. So it's like, look, I get that the best part of the game is finally when the game challenges you. Finally challenges you with the Elite Four and Cynthia at the end. I get it. I understand that. But at that point, do I even care about being challenged? If I literally hated the journey? If the journey wasn't great, why do I care if the end's good? Because to me, games are about the journey. The end could be fantastic, but bottom line is, if it wasn't me promising my audience I would play through the game, I would have never got to the end in the first place. I would have quit after the first stream. 1 gym in, I'm done. Good. Peace out. The thing is, I used to be a Pokemon fan. Sorry, go on. Yeah. What were you going to say there?
I was just going to say, it's actually probably a good thing that you got your level 100s, because if you went in with a team with a level 55 and a bunch of 40 guys, you would have got owned.
Oh, I know.
Because I was in there, like, when I got to the Elite Four, I was like high 50s, low 60s, and I didn't lose, but when I got to Cynthia, I was down to my last Pokemon. I had to do that thing where you're like full store revive, and just stall her out. It was actually pretty brutal. So,
yeah, I just didn't care. Just to be, this is not me trying to insult the games or insult Pokemon in general. I was a huge Pokemon fan back during Gen 1.
Yep.
And even Generation 2, I was good as well. About Generation 3, when I was like, I think I'm good. Because, and this isn't, I wouldn't say it's the game's fault, but when you have that mantra, gotta catch them all, beat into your head, back in the day, between the show and the game, and I realize it was more of a show thing, technically, than a game thing, even though they used it at times to advertise the game and commercials.
Well, I mean,
by the time you got to Gen 3, they keep adding Pokemon. And we had this brief talk on yesterday. They keep adding Pokemon. And I understand that you could transfer your Pokemon in national decks at the time. I know that's not a thing now, much to many Pokemon fans' chagrin. But it honestly just became a burden rather than something that I enjoyed collecting them all. Because like when I was younger, I don't know what it's like today when you try to collect them all, if anyone still does. But when I was collecting them all back then, it was you needed to get each gender. You needed to get each color variation. You need to, I didn't care necessarily about the max stat stuff. Some people do care about that. I got to get the perfect stat one. Like, I don't care about that. But like, you start getting into the genders and the colors and all the differences and the variations. And it's like, that's what I did back then. And it just kind of became a chore by the time you get to Gen 3 and you start realizing they're adding new Pokemon, but they're not getting rid of old Pokemon. which means they're just adding more and more every generation. So if you skip a gen and then you get back in, you feel like you're 500 Pokemon behind, and there's no way in hell you're going to do it because you remember how hard it was to get the original 150. So it was like, I just don't want to deal with that. And then it's split between 2 games. Then you have to have friends and trade. And it's like, this is like, as I'm getting older and I'm getting high school and adult, this just isn't a fun thing to me anymore. It was kind of cool when I was a kid. Let's grab that link cable. But as I got older, I'm like, this just, and a lot of people go, well, that's not the point. The point's to be, at the time, right? The first game, it's about becoming the Pokemon master, beat the Elite Four. I get that. Mm-hmm. But like, you would zoom through that so quickly that didn't really feel like the point of the game.
Yeah, see, to me, like, I have never, ever, like, even back in the day, been super concerned about completing the Pokedex. I think I tried and got pretty close in Gen 2, because all I was missing was, like the mythicals and stuff that's, like, inaccessible.
That's really hard.
But, but past that, I've never, like, tried super hard to get all the Pokemon, because for me, I just like the experience of like the main story. And I guess the thing that really appeals to me with Pokemon specifically is just like the feeling of it, because back in the day when obviously I was like first sucked in, the whole concept of them coming out with like a new generation of Pokemon that introduced a bunch of new Pokemon, that was just like so cool to me at the time, because it was just like, holy crap, like it just opened up a whole world of possibilities. Because I feel like Pokemon has always been about, like, as far as like rumors and stuff, it's like, oh, hey, did you hear about this such and such Pokemon? And like people were always talking about secret Pokemon you could get. So when they started coming out with new generations and there was actual new Pokemon, I was just like, as a kid, holy crap, this is the coolest thing ever. And so that kind of, I guess, stayed with me with each new generation, where it's like you got a whole new cast of Pokemon, no, whole new decks, I should say, of Pokemon to work with and find, and just the experience of like coming across a Pokemon you've never seen before when you're playing a new game has always just been super cool to me. So I've never been like a complete the Pokedex person, or a shiny hunter, or even a competitive battler. Like I pretty much just love just, I guess, the experience of adventure that Pokemon brings within like the main game. And then also I really like getting into like some of the story and lore of it too, because Pokemon actually has some pretty good lore, even though it's like obviously more of a general audience, younger audience type of series.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of games are that way. I mean, clearly it's targeted for younger kids. That was one thing I was like, I got playing through Brilliant Diamond. It's the first Pokemon game I had played through in over a decade. And I was like, yeah, I could tell this is aimed for, like, my kids would love this. I'd probably like this if I was younger. But there was always a situation, and this created controversy last night when I said, you know what? I think I would have stuck around with Pokemon longer if they would have never let you transfer Pokemon between games. And of course, that just pissed off a lot of people, because they've always been able to do that. And it's like, yeah, but part of the reason I'm so excited for Legends Arceus is that it is a fresh start. It's all over again. There is no transferring. There's not even online battles. It's a whole new wiping the slate clean game. And I love that. And if they would have maybe just like I kind of make it like Zelda. You don't carry your items and your crap in between games to the next game. It's a fresh new slate every time. And that's one thing I love about Zelda. And I felt like maybe that's what I liked about my games, because Final Fantasy's that way, Zelda's that way, Mario's that way, and then Pokemon's not. You can bring everything with, and it's like, that's exciting, but also, I know you can't do it till late game, but I just don't care, because I was into playing multiplayer, and it's like, yeah, okay, I worked really hard, I beat the Elite Four, I beat this, I did that, I got my guys up, and then everyone transferred in all their level 100s that were all perfect in the prior game, and I'm just getting wrecked on online, and I just don't really care anymore. Like, this just turned me off. It's like, okay, yeah, great, you put in a lot of work last game, so did I. Well, just bring your Pokemon over. But I want to use the new stuff. I don't care. Like, right. Like, isolate each game, and I think I would have been fine, because then it wouldn't feel so daunting with the number of Pokemon, especially for someone like me that had it beat into my head. Gotta catch them all. Pokemon. It's like, okay. Yeah, I mean, and you know what's funny? Way. I mean, as we transition into Legends Arceus coming out here in a couple days, is that Legends Arceus is a very interesting game from what we're learning from reviews. Obviously, we know everything's leaked, everyone. Try to stay away from the spoilers. That's why, if you're wondering, I actually bothered to read through reviews to see what they can and can't talk about yet, because several outlets said there's stuff they can't talk about till Friday, which to me means you probably shouldn't put your review out yet if you have to hold back, because
Right.
you aren't giving me really the full picture of your thoughts because you have to hold things back. But maybe it won't change your score, but I don't know. To me personally, I understand it's all about deadlines and getting traffic and all that, because your review is not going to be as popular on Friday, whatever. But what's interesting in reading the reviews, so I know what I can and can't talk about, and just rewatching some of the official marketing today, is some stuff that we're learning along the way about this game that's really interesting, that has me interested as someone who hasn't really been into Pokemon in 20 years, besides side games. Loved Detective Pikachu. Loved Coliseum and all that along the way. Stadium. Pokemon Snap. New Pokemon Snap was one of my favorite games last year. Love that game. Like, I like all the side games. Got Pokemon Go on phones. Fine. Pokemon Unite. Great. Got no problem with those. It's the mainline games that I'm like, nope, I'm good. But then Legends Arceus, they unveiled it, and obviously you're like, okay, first thoughts, obviously, open world Pokemon, holy crap. Like, okay, we had to open sort of in Sword and Shield, but it was just the wilds, and the DLC was a bit nicer, but it's kind of like, okay, it's not really open world. It's still kind of linear. You do this, then this, then this, then this, then this, then this, and yeah, you can kind of freely roam and capture some Pokemon, but and so you saw this, you're like, okay, 3D open world console Pokemon, this is exciting. This has been the dream since Gen 1. Because Gen 1 was, okay, this is Game Boy. Well, what happens when this comes to home console? Mm-hmm. That's the first thought that entered my mind as a kid. Because back when this came out, 96 hit. What happened? We got 3D Mario for the first time. We saw what happened when Mario came to home console in a 3D way. And we saw what happened with Zelda 2 years later with Ocarina of Time. We saw it with Star Fox. And we saw it with all these other great Nintendo franchises that were like, man, look at how well they transitioned to 3D. And not all of them worked out. You all know, like, that's why we haven't had another 3D Donkey Kong game since. I would like to see them take another crack at it, but the first one obviously didn't go over very well. But it was one of those situations where I'm like, that makes me stupidly excited for when they bring Pokemon off handheld and bring it to the N64, if not then, the next system. Like, I'm stupidly excited. And then it just never happened.
We got side games.
We got side games. Stadium. I was like, oh man, Stadium's awesome. And like, oh, man, imagine what's going to be like when main Pokemon comes here. And then it just never did. And it just never did. And it never did. And you're like, okay, whatever. And then obviously Switch came. And I think that's what some of the disappointment with Sword and Shield at times was they were expecting, okay, this is the leap. This is, now we can get that full okay, it's kind of sort of the handhelds, but expanded a bit. Not really a full commitment. Okay, whatever. We understand. We have a huge 10, 15 million plus fan base. We gotta, keep the base together. And we've only ever made handheld games, so kind of give them the excuse. Okay, fine. Then they showed off this, and you're like, okay, this is what I've been waiting for. Now, maybe it's not the most visually pleasing thing in the world. Fine, I can take that criticism. I think that's a fairly legit criticism, that it could be more visually pleasing. Fine. But everything I've seen and read about this game sounds like what I've always wanted Pokemon to become. Not only the wiping the slate clean and all, that's nice for new players or people who haven't played Pokemon in a long time. They don't have to worry about any of the prior games. Just play this. But what's the point of this game? Well, the reviews told me the point of this game is completing the Pokedex. Well, why did I enjoy Gen 1 and 2 so much? Completing the Pokedex. Okay, so that piques my interest. But just catching them all, like, I don't know how you could build a game around where literally that's the point. There's no gyms, right? There's no battles really. Like, how do you have a game built around just catching Pokemon? Oh, you need to gather information about the Pokemon. You need to observe behaviors. You are literally not just unlocking something that already has all the information for it in a Pokedex. Right. Like, they've already seen this Pokemon. They already have the information. It's just not unlocked on your Pokedex yet. So when they say you're completing the Pokedex has already been complete. Just not by you. You're a Pokemon hunter. Yeah, you're actually the person gathering that information that appears in people's Pokedexes later in the series. And it's like, that's very interesting. Because this is like the dawn of what turned into traditional trainers and everything else. And that's so cool. And I don't know how they could do it again. If they do it again, I don't know. I don't know how the story ends. I don't know any of that stuff yet because I've been very good about, despite the leaks, avoiding the story spoiler part, besides like the very opening part of the game, which is whatever. I'm not going to go into it because, again, there are some spoilers there in the very opening scene. Like massive spoilers in the opening scene. So we're not going to go there because people didn't talk about that in the reviews. I thought they were going to be allowed to talk about it in reviews, but apparently they weren't. The reviews really stayed away from talking heavy story. I feel like story was something they must have locked down in the NDAs, which is kind of weird. The thing's all completely leaked out at this point. But so to me, everything I've seen and the leaks actually kind of helped, made me more excited for this game. As somebody who doesn't like Pokemon anymore, this game looks amazing, and I kind of want it to be what Pokemon is moving forward. And I don't even know what that looks like,
Right.
because I likened this at the time because they did that stupid shot in the initial trailer. I'm like, oh my god, it's the Breath of the Wild Pokemon game, because everyone's like, why is everything got to be compared to Breath of the Wild? I'm like, oh, look, okay, I'll say this. What did Breath of the Wild do? It removed several key elements that have always been there for Zelda. One of them in particular got rid of traditional dungeons. Just eliminated them from the game. They don't even exist. Traditional dungeons, bye-bye. We still have some elements, but bye-bye. What's this game do? Oh, you don't really do trainer battles. There's no gyms. You don't fight against other players. Core fundamentals, been there since day one. Gone. Now, there's elements. Pokemon still fight. You can still battle like wild Pokemon, and there's a couple little trainer things they show off in some of the trailers where you do fight against a very select few people who have actually bothered to train a Pokemon, but it's not really the core of the game. Just like there's still Zelda dungeon elements, shrines, and all that still in Zelda, but not really that dungeon experience. And yet, Breath of the Wild is widely considered one of the greatest games ever released.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to games emulating Breath of the Wild, because this is obviously not the first game that's done it. There's been a bunch since Breath of the Wild came out, but I think like it's to be expected considering it is one of, if not the greatest game ever, depending on who you talk to. And I mean, the reason why it is so good is just because, I don't know, there was just such an attention to detail with Breath of the Wild. And the biggest thing that I got that just sold me on it, like aside from like the gameplay and everything else, because obviously that's great, was just the amount of just like care they put into the game. And you really got the sense of the fact that they were trying to make something just like huge. Like they were trying to make something special and go all out, and they did that. And I was telling one of my friends that obviously there's comparisons between Breath of the Wild and Zelda, and obviously there's like Legends is taking inspiration from Breath of the Wild. That's evident when you see the trailers and stuff. But the thing that I connected between the two was when I was watching the Breath of the Wild trailers for the first time, it was just like such a magical experience because I felt like the gravity of it. Like when you were watching these trailers, especially after like all the delays and like how long it took to finally get trailers, it was like you felt that this was going to be special. Like you could just feel it watching it, especially if you're like a big Zelda fan. And that was like the most hype-inducing thing for me, was I could tell that this was going to be a special game. When I watched the Legends trailers as a Pokemon fan, that's like the same exact vibe that I got. I could feel the gravity of it, that this was like something that they had really kind of hunkered down and like really worked hard on. And like I could feel that same feeling I felt with Zelda, that this was going to be a special game. And obviously, like, I guess the verdict is still kind of out, but from what we're hearing based on reviews and stuff, it seems that like this is a special game Pokemon wise. And like that just has me all the more excited because it kind of blends both of my favorite series, which is Pokemon and Zelda, into one game. So I could not be more excited.
Yeah. So obviously I've been talking about this a lot on my channel, especially in the last month. And Eric and I come from the perspective of we fell out of love with Pokemon. Don't care. Saw the initial trailer, still weren't really sure. And then as they showed more and showed more and showed more, Eric just hunkered down and bought the game the other day.
Yep.
And like to get him to do
today. Was it today or was it
I
yesterday?
think it was yesterday.
Either way.
Yeah, and then it's like, and Eric doesn't do that for most Nintendo games. He waits till after they come out, after he sees me play, after this, and he's like me. We haven't enjoyed mainline Pokemon in a long time, and they keep telling us this is mainline, and I go, okay, I'll believe it when there's more than just this one game. Otherwise, it's going to feel like a one-off spin-off. And some reviews even called it a spin-off today, and it's like, that's fine, but like Game Freak has literally said it's mainline. They've come out themselves and said it, so you can consider it a spin-off, and I guess you're going to do that until there's more of them. There has to be more of them. And we have to see what happens with Gen 9, or is this kind of the beginning and nobody really knows. Nobody knows because they've never done a game like this. This is like uncharted territory. We don't really know what's next. We assume there'll be more traditional Gen 9s, Pokemon games, but then assumptions where we were never going to get this either. So, they would never outsource a remade Pokemon game to another company. And they did it. So, like, who really knows what's going to happen?
Right.
The future's unknown. But
no, for sure.
We've been coming from the perspective the whole time that this is the game that makes me want to play Pokemon again. But I want to throw it out to our guest because he's a completely different perspective. He loves Pokemon. He's been playing Pokemon. He literally covers Pokemon on his channel. He is, I don't know if I call him a guru, but he is probably as much of an expert at Pokemon as I am at Zelda when it comes to lore and everything in between. This guy knows his shit. You don't get the 200K plus subscribers, 50, 100, 200,000 views on a video because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So, from your perspective of someone that actually loves Pokemon, what about this game makes you excited? Because I talked about all the things that make me excited, and all the things that make me excited are like the things Pokemon isn't. And now is trying to be. And yes. But for you as someone who actually already likes Pokemon the way it is, what makes you super excited for this one?
Well, I think there are a lot of similarities to what you described. I think the thing that really, and I think the stuff I mentioned with the Zelda blending also appeals to me too, because I am a Zelda fan. Yeah, but in general, I think the thing that sells me so much is the fact that like it's very much a game that is taking feedback from the fans in mind, because it's not just like doing the same things that have been done. It's not like, I guess, just standard Pokemon. And you can also tell that they're pushing themselves with this game. Because like I said, like I got the same feelings with watching these trailers as I did with the Zelda trailers. You can feel that they're really trying to take this to the next level with this game and kind of elevate Pokemon, I guess. And so I think the thing that gets me really just especially excited is like the fact that it's different, and I mean, but also just the fact that it kind of just opens up the floodgates, if you will, in terms of the possibilities. Because as much as I love Pokemon, and like I said, I love the feeling of finding new Pokemon and the adventure and everything like that, there is a very strict formula that has never, ever, ever been deviated from. Maybe even like more so than any other series that I can think of, because it's like, I mean, they've done little things here and there, like in Sun and Moon, they tried the trials instead of the gyms. But for all intents and purposes, it's like you have 8 gyms or bosses that you have to battle. Then you go to the Pokemon League, you catch Pokemon, you deal with an evil team. Like, that's all well and good, but it does get to the point at the same time where it's like, yeah, this is definitely a structure and this is like a very strict experience. And with every Pokemon game you play, you are more or less having the same experience. With Legends, it's just a whole new thing. Like, I can ride on Pokemon in this game. Like, I can ride on a deer Pokemon. Are you kidding me? I can, like, and catching Pokemon is not like catching Pokemon in the traditional sense. You're, like, hunting them out and researching them, and you have to, like, complete tasks to fill their Pokedex entry and like do different stuff than just kind of like go out and catch them the standard way. That is the kind of stuff that just like takes my fascination to a whole new level. Because as I said, I've never been a person who really focuses super hard on catching all the Pokemon and completing the decks. But this is the type of thing that would make me want to do that, because it's just such an intriguing, just new way of going about the Pokemon formula. Like, you still have the things there that make Pokemon so wonderful. You have the catching Pokemon experience, you have finding the new Pokemon experience, you have going out and exploring the world and like having this sense of adventure, and you have it seems like there's going to be lots of lore and stuff like that. So all of those like main elements, at least what I take away from Pokemon, are there for me. But then they've just put a beautiful spin on it, where they're kind of just shaking it up, going outside the box, and then they're taking it to the next level on top of that, where they're doing things that are bold and that they might have been afraid to do in the past, and they're basically kind of putting all of their chips on the table, if you will. And that is so refreshing as a Pokemon fan, because traditionally when it comes to Pokemon games and like kind of putting all their chips on the table, so to speak, they don't usually do that. Game Freak is very conservative with main series Pokemon, because I mean, you talked about it, like they took forever to get on a console. They took forever to make the jump to 3D. Like, they've always been like a few years behind in terms of like other game series, not necessarily in a bad way, because like the games have their reasons for doing that, but it's become like more apparent in the modern day that, yeah, Pokemon has kind of like just been inching its way to almost a snail's pace when it comes to like really doing what it's capable of. And this game feels like they're cranking the engine up and actually getting to where they're capable of. And that's what's so exciting to me, is they're like finally taking that step.
So is some of this excitement built around the fact that they are calling it a mainline game instead of it being a spinoff?
Yeah, I could say that too, because if this was being made by some third-party studio, I would say I would be excited, but then I would have a lot more, I guess, doubt as to whether this was going to be a one-time thing, or if I could expect it in the future. With Game Freak making it, and it being considered by them to be a main series game, like I won't go so far as to say like, yeah, this is the type of Pokemon game we're going to get for years to come, because it's just like, you never know. We're just going to have to wait and see. But it provides me a lot more optimism that this is where Pokemon's going, because Pokemon, and they've even said this themselves before in interviews, they have a design philosophy of, with each new generation and each new console they bring their games to, they like to sort of give themselves room to grow. So, like, the first games they make on a system, they start a little more basic, which is what you saw with Sword and Shield. It's kind of what you saw with X and Y. You could even say it's what you saw with Diamond and Pearl on the DS. But then by the time you get to the end of the system's life cycle, you have games like Black and White 2, and you have games like Sun and Moon, which was like miles ahead of what X and Y did. And now you've got Legends Arceus, which is obviously it's a big improvement off of Sword and Shield in terms of its capability. And I think just in terms of like how many people are going to enjoy this game, it's such a step up. So in that sense, they do kind of like steadily progress. And if this is the next step that we're at, it does make me very excited for Gen 9, because I think we can expect Gen 9 to also be on the Switch, because I believe the Switch will be around for a few more years, and Gen 9 will be here like relatively soon. So I think that will happen, and that is just going to result in even more improvements being made. And I'm optimistic, I would say, when it comes to that. As far as like how they're going to do it, that's the big question, because it's like, are they going to make Legends kind of its own series within the main series. So are we going to get more Legends games? I would certainly hope so. Or are they going to sort of use this as like a jumping off point and kind of integrate what they're doing in Legends into like a modern game in Gen 9, where it's like, yeah, it's not set in the past, but you have all the features of like exploration and riding on Pokemon and things like that. So I definitely think this is sort of a jumping off point for what we'll see in the future. It's just a big question mark in my mind as to how that is ultimately going to shake out. But I think it's extremely, extremely important that if like whether you're a big Pokemon fan like me or you're a casual fan, that you like go out and buy this game and support it, because the thing that's going to make them make more games like this the most is if it does well. And I'm very interested to see how well it will do, because games like Sword and Shield and Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, they had their fair share of controversies, and they are doing phenomenally well sales-wise. Because Sword and Shield, I believe, is like the third highest selling Pokemon game ever, behind
officially the second now, as of like last week.
Oh, it is the second.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it's only behind Red and Blue at this point. So that's absolutely crazy, especially because of all the controversies. So with a game like Legends, that's like, it's got the same install base on the Switch, and it's got basically nothing but positivity and hype surrounding it. And honestly, I cannot even begin to tell you how many people I have personally talked to that have been like, I haven't played Pokemon in a while, but I'm getting Legends Arceus because it looks really good. Like, more people have said that to me about this game than any other Pokemon game ever. So with all of that going for Legends Arceus, I would assume that it would do insane sales wise, maybe even like eclipse Sword and Shield. But since Sword and Shield has so many copies sold, it's like, will it be able to get that to that level? I'm really interested to see how that ultimately shakes out.
And with it being only a single game versus two games too.
Right.
Yeah, because some people buy multiple copies of the other ones because they're
trying to trick with themselves. And
yeah. I think what's interesting is I was thinking about this as you were talking about, like, what could make the Pokemon Company not just make more of this game, and even if it becomes a pseudo spin-off series where it just does its own thing, independent of the Gen 9, like it's not part of a generation or whatever. But what would make them consider, like, okay, this next big Pokemon game we do Generation 9, or maybe it's not that because those games are already in the works, so it's Gen 10 or whatever it is, where they go, we're actually going to make it like this game, but in a new world, new this, new that, or whatever. And find new and inventive ways besides obviously always relying on we have to complete a Pokedex or whatever. Like, they'll figure out whatever. Like, we're about to see what Breath of the Wild 2. How the hell do you follow up Breath of the Wild? We're about to find out.
Right?
Yeah.
We're about to find out. So it's like, it can be done. It's probably going to be done well, we hope. And obviously, this can be done well as well moving forward for Pokemon. But I kept thinking, what's going to make the Pokemon Company in particular, since they make pretty much all the decisions at this point, want to invest and say, look, we want to do this, but this kind of game can't be crapped out in a year. It's going to take 3-4 years of development every single time. We obviously have all of our cards and toys and animated series going on, and we want things to line up, but all of a sudden we got to break our normal release schedule to keep doing games like this because, hey, we can't make as many Pokemon games at once when we're focused on such a large, expansive kind of game, which is why, again, Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is outsourced, and they could still outsource. I think it's probably selling well enough that they will consider outsourcing future games.
I'm wondering if they continue with the line of Let's Go, if they outsource that line.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? And that's Let's Go too, and that's assuming they even continue Let's Go. We don't even know. There are presumptions that, maybe we don't get Gen 9 this year, but we get Let's Go, Gen 2 this year. Like, that could be a whole other line of games. But again, are they going to outsource that, or are they going to make that internally like the original? There's a lot of unknowns right now because we don't really know exactly what they're making at the moment, besides the Gen 9's being worked on somewhere. Don't really know what it is. And yeah, did Let's Go sell well enough, or did it not sell well enough to really do another one? And maybe that was a one-off idea that they're not going to repeat or revisit. But I kept thinking, the Pokemon Company cares the most about money. It's all about that greenback. It's all about got to make that dough. And they've been trying. And by the way, Pokemon Sword and Shield is officially the most money they've ever made on Pokemon ever. Because while it is, what is it, 6 million or so, 7 million or so shy of, the impossible seemingly to get to Gen 1 sales, it's also doing it at $20 more per copy. That can't be ignored. They have made hand over fist money with this game in comparison to Gen 1. The problem is that, okay, yeah, it's popular, but everything on Switch is selling more than before. Everything. This feels abnormal because we haven't been able to get to these sales before, but then you see Breath of the Wild, Zelda game's never even hitting 10 million, and that's at 25. Well, we're not doing that with this game. This game's doing well, but it's not like destroying or even doing the best we've ever done. It's just, maybe it's only doing well because it's on Switch, and it's just the Switch effect bumping us from 18 mil to 25 mil. Like, that's a big bump, but also 100 million plus systems, lots of momentum, Nintendo's full support behind everything. And that's what's cool about Legends Arceus is they're trying this experimental thing while the Switch is still peaking. That's very key here, because it would be different if they dropped this in 2 years, like Skyward Sword did back at the end of Wii U or end of Wii, and it's like, you're just sending it out to die because the momentum's gone. The interest, no, the momentum is still here. So I think the Pokemon Company, and this is just me from the outside looking in, watching the way they puppet master the whole franchise, really focusing on what's going to make us the most money. Bottom line. Okay, we got to keep doing remakes, right? We got to get them out. They don't cost a lot of money. Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is probably not that expensive for them to outsource. And it's sold well enough that they're probably going to continue to outsource. That might be too much people's chagrin because they prefer the way they were doing it before when Game Freak was making them and implementing the newer engine into the old games. And I get all that. But sales-wise, wasn't really doing any better than Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl's doing. Really wasn't getting the sales that they're still able to get without doing that. So then it's like, so that's not worth the investment. So why not just do it cheaper and have somebody else do chibi style or just update the old style into an HD style and call it a day? Okay, fine. Maybe that's what they're going to do moving forward. And then some Pokemon fans will be mad about that. I get it. Some Pokemon fans are still mad they did that with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. You can't please everyone. The Pokemon fan base is... I'm a huge part of the Zelda fan base, and we're really fickle. Pokemon fan base is a whole nother level.
Oh, man. Well, here's the thing. Like, the Legends Arceus is definitely the saving grace of Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, because I was... Before, when they showed the reveal for Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, before obviously the Legends one came right after that, I was distraught. I was like, no, this is bad. This is really bad. Yikes. And then Legends came, and then the Legends trailer came out. I was like, oh no, this is good. So it's kind of like a really interesting double-edged sword, because it's like, okay, maybe you don't like the way they did Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl because it's like they're the Sinnoh remakes everyone has wanted forever, but it's like you do not get Legends Arceus without the sacrifice that Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl made. And I think pretty much everyone would rather have Legends Arceus as opposed to like a standard remake of Diamond and Pearl, like Oraz was, or something like that, you know, like a more traditional remake.
I've seen some self-proclaimed Pokemon fans go, "No gyms, I'm out."
Yeah, see, that's
with Zelda. No dungeons, I'm out. Okay, breakable items. Yeah. That's dumb. You don't get items in dungeons. I'm out. I'm out. That's not a Zelda game.
Yeah,
slap any other name on it. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be Zelda.
See, that's like. Yeah. That's fickle, and then that's like pure. That's like being a purist to like the umpteenth degree. Like I feel like you gotta have a little wiggle room.
Can't take risk. And it's a risk. I mean, it's a risk that's going to sell well. What I was trying to get at is, like, when Ocarina of Time came out back in the 90s, it became the best-selling Zelda game ever released instantly on a system that was actually not really that big of a seller. 35 million, not that big a deal. Zelda sold to almost a third of that audience. That's how big a deal Ocarina of Time was, and was the best-selling Zelda ever at that time. And then Twilight Princess topped it, and then obviously we know with Breath of the Wild. So I kept thinking, Like Twilight Princess had the benefit, was on 2 systems, but a launch game for the Wii, their most popular home console ever. But that sold over 100 mil, and Breath of the Wild sold 25 mil on another system that sold over 100 mil. So what made Breath of the Wild blow up in the way that Twilight Princess did? Well, it did something new. It was able to kind of reset the table for Zelda in a way where it didn't matter if you played prior Zelda games, because this one is different. This one is, you don't need to know your lore. Yeah, you might enjoy it more if you know your lore. You might get some of the references. You might see Lon Lon Ranch destroyed and actually know what that is. But also, you could still have a damn good time if you don't know any of it. And I think that's what they're doing with this game. And I think it's going to be curious to see how the sales go, because I don't know where the ceiling is. I mean, it's going to sell over 10 mil. Okay, yeah, I think it's a pretty safe bet. It's going to get over 10 mil. Okay, fine. But like, it's mainline Pokemon. Mainline Pokemon pretty much always does over 10 mil. So, okay, so where does it go from there? And I think what would convince the Pokemon company to say, you know what? This should be the future. We should look at this and go, maybe that's not instantly what we're doing right this second, but when we bring this back in 3 years, 4 years, hits the next gen Switch or whatever, maybe it's even the first year of next gen, we're going to show everyone that this is the way we're doing it moving forward. I don't know how, but that's for them to figure out. It would be for this game to do something that they've been trying to do since Gen 1. Sell more than Gen 1 did.
Well,
do what Breath of the Wild did. Like, why is Zelda potentially never going to go back to what Zelda used to be? Because Breath of the Wild tripled the best-selling Zelda game of all time. Tripled the sales. Now, I don't expect this thing to triple it, because that would be like every Switch owner on the planet would own this game. So, like, that's not a realistic proposition. It can't Minecraft it on a single system. I mean, maybe if it was on multiple systems, it could pull that off, but it's not going to pull that off on just Switch. But it would be interesting to be like, look, if it hits 30 mil, if it gets up there with Animal Crossing and can get up there as, into the 30 mil range and approach Gen 1, if not pass it, and obviously pass Sword and Shield, that's where they got to go. Oh, we can't ignore that. Clearly, we just did something we've been trying to do since the very first games and been unable to do. And look, we finally stopped playing it safe, and look what happened. Holy crap. Maybe we should have jumped to home console and did this a long time ago. Well, now's the time. We can't let this go. We got to do it again. And that's what happened with Zelda. Like, think about it. What's crazy about Breath of the Wild 2 is the expectations should almost be elevated for Breath of the Wild 2, because most of the original Breath of the Wild's development was spent building the engine. Well, they already have the engine, and they're taking longer to release this game. This game's going to have more time in development than the original Breath of the Wild when they don't have to build. Like, what are they doing with this game? And that's the thing here. Right. Okay, yeah, they might not bring another one, because I don't think it would make sense to launch another game like this, like literally on the last year of Switch, unless Switch is still doing phenomenally well heading the next gen, which maybe it will. We have a new president of Nintendo who doesn't want to let momentum die, so maybe they'll break tradition from Nintendo where they just let systems die and then bring out another one, which is like take a cue from Sony and PlayStation. They keep PlayStation 4 selling big all the way till PS5 launches, and then they quit.
They just don't tell the company they're coming out with a new one.
Well, no, they know. But what Sony does is different than everyone else is. On the final year of the system, they drop major exclusive games, like major ones. We got Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2. All that stuff dropped in like the last year of PlayStation 4 being their main system, even though people knew PlayStation 5 was coming. But you're not going to not play those games. So people still buy PlayStation 4s and still play those games. And what Nintendo usually does is, last 2 years before we launch our new system, it's like, we'll announce the new system now. We won't launch it till next year holiday. We've got a Paper Mario in between for you guys. You guys still want to play our system, right? Go up and buy it, right? You want to buy it when the next one's coming, when we're not giving you the games to make you want to buy it. And Sony's like, hey, we're not stupid. What we do is we release these big, massive titles that were already being built for the system on the system. And then we say, yeah, but year one of the next system, that's when the remastered version comes out. And you're just going to buy it again. And you're going to double dip. And it's actually going to help launch our next system, even though it was on the prior system. So Sony's figured that out. And that's one way they've been able to maintain momentum between PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4, and now 5. And I hope Nintendo figures that out. I hope the new president realizes.
I think they kind of take a half step towards that with Breath of the Wild, because it was designed for the Wii U, but yet came out
so that's a little different.
Is that kind of like a half step?
That's not even a half step. That was Wii U tanked.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And we're not releasing the most expensive game we've ever made on a system nobody bought. If we're going to release it, we're going to release it on a system that we hope does well. It's handheld, so it's got to do well, right? Like, we got to try. Like, that was more of a Nintendo managing the risk of, we spent $300 million on this game. We are not dropping this on a dead system. Like, it just, you don't send it out to die. Like, they just did that with Skyward Sword, where they thought it was a safe bet to still release it. Look, there's 100 million Wiis out there. We can still drop this in the middle of, like, when we haven't released a brand new big game in over a year. We can still drop this and it'll sell. Well, oh, we just announced Wii U, but we can still drop this big game, even though we got nothing coming after it, nothing that came before it, besides some ports of some Japanese RPGs that fans had to fight to get to come over that were actually 2-year-old games. So it's like, yeah, you really stopped supporting the system. The best-selling game on Wii in 2011 and 2012 was Just Dance.
Yeah.
Like, Nintendo, you should have been, like, if you had other big games release around the time you're like, oh, Wii U, this is our next system. Oh, but by the way, buy Galaxy 3 next week on Wii. Galaxy 3 is going to move units. Going to keep momentum. You're going to keep things going. And they just didn't do that. They didn't do the Sony thing. And they've never done the Sony thing. They're a little bit better with handhelds, and the Pokemon Company's a bit to thank for that, because Pokemon Company usually doesn't like to transition to the new handheld right away. So you get like a super late gen Pokemon game. So I guess to the Pokemon Company, I guess credit to them for being too scared to get onto the new platform right away before there's a established base. But whatever.
Because heaven forbid they actually drive
heaven forbid they have the confidence in their game to move units. We have to already be on the system that has the units moved. Nintendo, have you sold enough of these yet? Have you hit my 30 mil, 40 mil requirement threshold? Okay, now we'll release a game. But that's the Pokemon Company caring about sales. So my thing is, I think if this does blow up, that's when they're like, yeah, we're going to do this, and we're not going to release it on this system, but we're going to get it ready to launch year one of the next one. Until then, they'll still do whatever plans they have now, whether it's a Let's Go or, another remake or a Gen 9 that's more traditional, because I'm sure they've had that in the works since Sword and Shield with some team somewhere, because Game Freak does have multiple teams. But yeah, I think that's what I personally think that's what it's going to take. Looking at how greedy they are, they're going to be able to look, if this thing doesn't sell as well as Sword and Shield, then why the fuck would we do it again? We'll just do Sword and Shield again. Why would we do this?
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's my thoughts as like an outsider that doesn't like Pokemon and goes, look, they're a greedy as fuck company. They're gonna go where the money takes them.
Yeah.
And if the money takes them this way, which they've never done a game like this, and if it works and it's mainline, and I think that's the thing by calling it mainline is they're trying to set you up for, hey, if this does do,
it may be a new mainline.
And again, I don't know if it needs to outsell Gen 1, but I can tell you right now, if it outsells Gen 1, they are not done.
Yeah, I think with this game, it's like, it really is like the crossroads of the series, because the whole reason they're making it, like I said, they're taking feedback into consideration. So the reason why it exists is because they kind of know that they need to make a game like this. Like it's to that point where they've had to sort of like get themselves together and like put out a game that can get to the level of satisfaction that Legends Arceus has got to with the fan base. But that doesn't guarantee in my mind that this is just going to be like the plan for the next 5-10 years. Because obviously it all really depends on how well it sells. However, with that being said, I think there is something to be said about the way they released Legends Arceus, and that they did it as sort of like a dual release with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Because one thing I speculated about recently in one of my own videos is that with the stark contrast in style that BDSP and Legends has, I could almost see them maybe trying to set up sort of like a classic Pokemon series, modern Pokemon series, where BDSP is like your 2D Mario, it's your top-down Zelda, and Legends Arceus is your Breath of the Wild, it's your Mario Odyssey, where they can just like do whatever they want.
And I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
because I think another big thing for them is that they have probably been hesitant to sort of go in the Legends direction because they don't want to leave the the Pokemon formula the way it is, because it's like, it's a precious baby. Like, people love it, and it's obviously like what makes Pokemon. So they don't want to just like cast it aside. So I could see what's going on here as sort of their way to do that, where they set up their classic series, their modern series, and then moving forward, I could see more remakes basically taking the role of the 2D games, where they make them in the more classic style, because they were the classic style to begin with. And then we get games like the newer generation games, and maybe like more different stuff like Legends, that kind of is just basically free of that chain and can go all in and do whatever it wants. And I could also sort of see, like, there really are so many questions, because I'm just like, are they going to make Legends a series or not? Is it a lead, or is it just like a lead into the next thing? Part of me thinks it's a lead into what is going to be in Generation 9, and this is basically kind of like their testing ground for it, so to speak. And that honestly makes me even more excited for what Generation 9 could be, because it's like, if Legends Arceus is a lead into that, and maybe they're feeling a little more free with themselves because they've got classic Pokemon taken care of with their new 2D series, then that sets up Gen 9 to really be something special, because it's obviously got all of that under its belt to work with. So this is truly an exciting time for the series. Like, it could, if they play their cards right, and
series
obviously
shifting potentially.
If stuff sells well and everything, this could be like the next 5 years of 10 and 10 beyond, whatever. The future of Pokemon could be insanely good if this like all goes as planned.
What I do know right now about pre-orders at the moment, thanks to my buddy Paul Gale Network, shout out to you, buddy. He's got some his own inside sources at places I can't mention, to have. So a little look at the pre-order numbers. And by the way, I know personally how well Nintendo is pushing this, and I'll get into that in a moment. The pre-order numbers, from what I've heard, are higher than any game released on Switch to date, including Sword and Shield. The only game that it potentially is trailing is Animal Crossing, which had the largest launch in history on Switch, almost 10 million. It had 11 million on its first 10 days on the market. So that's the biggest launch that's ever happened, and it sold I think 7 or 8 million during its opening weekend. And this is tracking ahead of Sword and Shield that did 6. So that, I mean, is it going to hit 7 or 8? Is it going to be Animal Crossing? I don't know, but I'm just like, from what we know of sales already, it's already incredible. It's already potentially, like, if it was a Zelda game, the second best-selling Zelda game of all time. Like, already, and the game's not even here yet.
Well, as I was saying, I've had more people talk to me about this game saying, oh, I haven't played Pokemon in a while, but I'm getting this game. That's happened more times with Legends already than any other Pokemon game.
If this game is like, because here's the thing, it's drawing me and Eric back. Like, the only reason I bought Brilliant Diamond is because my fans, like, I gave them options of like games I could play, and I said, if you want to torture me, I guess you can make me play Pokemon. Torture? Should have never used that word. I should have acted like I liked Pokemon, and then they wouldn't have picked it. But that was my fault. It's the only reason I bought that game. But I kept thinking, like, it's bringing people like me and Eric back, and we can't be alone. Obviously, there's a lot of people who have at least are aware of Pokemon, or maybe they've only played Pokemon Go, or whatever, and they're like, oh, this looks intriguing. And then you have the normal fans that have been there the whole time, normal, quote unquote normal, the hardcore. Let's say the hardcore. Call them that. The core fan base of Pokemon, and maybe that's the better way to put it, because I know there's different splits in the fan base of core, hardcore, casual, and everything in between. Then you obviously have, like, you mentioned, like, the super hardcore purist that if it doesn't have, online multiplayer, doesn't have the national dex, we can't do it. But like, the national dex won't make sense in this game. Doesn't matter. It has to have national dex, so I don't care. But that literally would not make sense in this game. Doesn't matter. Like, do you even know anything about this game? It literally would not the national dex didn't exist when this game, like, the time period. Do you care about lore? Like, it wasn't even a thing. I don't care. I transfer all my Pokemon in. But like, Pokemon trainers weren't a thing yet. The fact that you have trained Pokemon, it doesn't make sense to transfer. I'm what? Anyways,
you pop a Charmander out.
Sorry, I've seen some really dumb arguments where it's like, do you even know what game this is? Like, this isn't like a traditional Pokemon game. Do you understand? Are you wrapping your mind around it yet? And I get it. Like, people like Pokemon to be a certain way, and there are still people that are just still holding on to that anger of no national decks moving forward. And it's like, no, I'm going to keep being angry until they do it with every game, even if it's a game that doesn't make sense.
Well, to add on to that,
yeah,
and going back to what I said earlier, this is why I'm so intrigued to see the sales numbers. Obviously, I'm hopeful it does really well, but I'm just intrigued because of all of that potential and the precedent that like Sword and Shield and BDSP set. But I honestly think that this game could have like a perfect storm, not to get anyone's hopes too high, but this game could have a perfect storm set up for it sales wise. Because if you think about it, we've already established it's Pokemon, so it's got insane appeal right there. It's got the appeal of people who have not played Pokemon in a while, so you're bringing that crowd back. You don't have to worry about the main Pokemon crowd who account for like 10 million or so sales already. And then you're pulling in just like you could very easily pull in just like generic, just everyday people who don't apply to any of those categories, because it's like those people know what Pokemon is. And if they're kind of like just a casual gamer, maybe not even really a gamer type of person, the game that they're most likely to want to play is kind of like a game like Legends Arceus, where you explore and go run around. That's part of the reason why Breath of the Wild did so well, and that's why Skyrim did so well, and it's on every system. So this game is, and also it's releasing at the end of January when there's nothing else out, and we don't know what else is coming out for the most part because they haven't announced it because we're so early in the year. So it's like this game is like everything. Like, it just has everything going for it, sales-wise.
It's like Animal Crossing in 2019. Literally a whole section of the year to itself. And, by the way, there's a pandemic and everyone's stuck at home. This is like the perfect time to play this kind of time sync game. And guess what, guys? We're kind of sort of still in the pandemic, and some people are still on lockdown at home, depending on states and areas and countries that you're in. So it's very interesting to see what happens with this game sales-wise. Obviously, I know from Paul Gale that the pre-orders are really, really high, and it's going to have an insane launch. Obviously, the question is, the legs does it have? Is this the most evergreen Pokemon game ever released? Well, I have no idea. We have no clue because we're projecting now years in the future, and we can't know that at this point. And who knows if it is as crazy as Animal Crossing New Horizons? Does it somehow pop off for 25-30 million in a single year, which would be absolutely insane because Pokemon's not even ever done. Not even Gen 1 popped off like that for one year. Like that would be insane. And then does it stop? Is it, this is everybody. Now nobody buys it. It was kind of what happened to Animal Crossing. Everyone that wanted to buy it got it year one, and the sales are pretty low. They're not staying that steady pace like consistently seeing Breath of the Wild in the top 10, consistently seeing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which was originally a Wii U game, in the top 10. I also know this is what makes me very interested about this game, because Nintendo is personally trying to push this game hardcore too. Pokemon Company, for obvious reasons, is pushing hard. Nintendo, obviously, they know to sell systems and everything. Big deal. But what's interesting is, I don't know if you've ever used like affiliate links before, to get like a 1 or 2% kickback on if people want to buy games through like Amazon or something like that. Nothing, right? This doesn't hurt the fans. You guys are going to buy the games anyways from these retailers. You use our link, a little kickback to the channel. Who cares? Well, I got reached out by a representative of Nintendo to get into an invite-only affiliate. They reached out to me last week, and I just thought, okay, whatever. This is just going to be like Amazon. Okay, well, I skipped the meeting on Friday, and then they were like, dude, you don't want to miss this opportunity. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Get in the meeting with this Nintendo rep and this affiliate company, and they're like, just so you're aware, you probably lost out on hundreds of dollars. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, oh, you want to know how hard we're trying to push people to buy this game right now? We're offering 22% kickback on sales through Best Buy for Pokémon Legends Arceus. And if you know anything about affiliates, you don't get 10%. 22%. And the whole reason it's Nintendo kicking it back, not Best Buy, Nintendo's kicking it back. And why? To the creator. Because they want creators to push the game. They want this game. They basically break records. They didn't do this with Animal Crossing. They didn't do this with anything else. Here they are with Pokemon, and they're like, no. Nintendo, we're going to even encourage content creators, YouTubers, influencers. Get on this game, make shitloads of money with us, and make everyone happy. If we're happy, you're happy, the fans are happy, everyone's happy. That's how much we believe in this game. And we don't want you to treat this like it's just another Pokemon release. Oh, it's an early Pokemon January game. It's cool. We could skip it. Let's look forward to Kirby and Breath of the Wild and everything else. No, don't. Don't skip this game. Cover it. Talk about it. They're not, by the way, not paying you to directly talk about it. Not paying you for anything. People have to buy the game. But I found that very interesting when I got reached out and I'm like, are you okay? That is Nintendo being very serious. Nintendo's being serious in general to begin this year. I think they're doing 14%, I think, on every other Nintendo thing at Best Buy right now, kicking back. So, like, they're being really serious right now in general. But, my God. I've never seen... Guys, I've been literally using affiliate links to move, like, merchandise in games. Probably a decade. Dating back to my Zelda Informer days. Used to sell a bunch of Zelda merch on the almost million follower Facebook page. Every day would post 5 or 6 little Zelda items. Like, hey, if you guys want to buy this, check this out. A little kickback, no big deal. And don't buy it if you don't want to. Not a big deal. Same difference here, except now they're paying you a lot more than 1%, which is what it usually is. It's usually you make $1. Okay, thanks. Cool. I made $2.50 off your $60 game. That was great. I guess it's $5 or $6, whatever. It's not much. But when I hear that going on, I hear about the pre-order numbers. I hear about you as a hardcore Pokemon fan. Literally the hardest core it gets. You make content on it on YouTube. It doesn't get much more hardcore than being dedicated enough to make videos on it.
Yeah.
And you're stupidly excited. I'm stupidly excited as somebody who just basically put up 2 middle fingers to Brilliant Diamond and uninstalled it off my system. Just yeeted it off. The moment the credits rolled and it said game over, I said, good. Yeet it off my system. Get out of here. I'll reinstall it if my kids want to play, I guess. Yeah. But otherwise, it's out of here.
I mean, it's got me excited. I'm casual as casual gamers can get some right now.
Yes.
So,
do you have any thoughts on this before we move on, Eric?
No, go ahead. You got something to add here real quick? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's crazy because I, just before this podcast,
D-Dub, in the chat. Yeah, I'm letting you know it's not up to 22%. It's literally 22%. We've sold 15 copies of it so far. It's 22% every time. It's not up to. Just so you're aware, this isn't. I wasn't joking around. I have the numbers to prove it. I have the data. I literally see the dollar signs. It's crazy. I'm not kidding. It's insane what Nintendo's doing. I've been covering. I've gotten review copies in the past. I've worked with Nintendo for certain things and certain advertising deals. Back in the day when I worked at Zelda Informer, I've never seen Nintendo like this. Now, maybe it's because Nintendo has more money than God at the moment. I have no clue, but they are pushing this game. I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if you see a Legends commercial at the Super Bowl. That's how hard I think they're pushing this game.
Wow.
I would love that. They did it for Pokemon Go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would not be shocked if you see this at the Super Bowl. And if you see it at the Super Bowl, they're spending it's big bucks.
Oh yeah,
to get a Super Bowl commercial. So, all right, go on. What were you going to say now?
I was going to say, I am honestly so ready to just pop off on promoting this game. I've been dreaming. I'm just when I get the game, please let me love it because I just want to tell everyone to go buy this so much. I just want to make video after video after video being people, this game is amazing. You need to get your hands on it because I am fully prepared to do that. I really, really want people to get their hands on it and buy it and support it.
If I love this as much as I think I am, oh my God.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't have to kick back anything. I was already talking about this game before. I'm sorry. I was already excited. And if it's amazing, yeah, am I actually going to be talking about a Pokemon game post-release for months? Like I did with Breath of the Wild. Is that actually going to be a thing? My channel, the Pokemon Hater channel, will be literally bringing up Legends on every podcast for the next 6 months until we get to whatever the next direct is or whatever distracts me from it. Till Breath of the Wild 2 advertising begins at some point. That's how excited I am for this game. Some people said I was stupid because I said, guys, this might be an early game of the year contender. And they're like, no, it's Pokemon. Shut up. You can't even say that until you get to the end of the year. And I'm like, no, I knew at E3 2016 when I played the demo for Breath of the Wild that whatever year that game came out, it was going to be a game of the year contender. And we weren't even to the year it came out yet. Mm-hmm. And I knew that off a demo.
Uh-huh.
I can already tell looking at this that, at least for me, this is going to be a game of the year contender this year. I don't know if it'll win. I don't know if it could ever, like, if Breath of the Wild 2 comes out, I have a lot of Zelda bias. Not sure it could top that for me. Let alone, will the Game Awards, be crazy enough to put this in a Game of the Year discussion? But I also go,
the thing too.
Metroid Dread was 87 on Metacritic and made Game of the Year.
I was just going to say
award nominations and actually won some at some outlets. I'm just saying, let's not dismiss, even though there's a lot of big games coming this year, people might not forget about this one. Just keep it on the back. Yeah. A lot of people like Pokemon or want to like Pokemon.
And that's
just because it's not the most visually pleasing game.
That is the unique appeal of this game, though, because it's like with Pokemon basically being on like Disney's level in terms of recognizability. It's like, even if you're not a Pokemon fan at all, or maybe you're like you guys who you've played Pokemon, but you've been away from it for 20 years. It's like, I think most everyone kind of has, like, most people have played one Pokemon game, or they've watched the show or something, like, because it's everywhere, obviously. I feel like most people have kind of like a itch inside of them where it's like, even if they don't like Pokemon, they want an excuse to like it. So it's like I was saying earlier, like, you have this game that's sort of like a really good gateway game for even like super casual gamers, just with the type of game that it is. And it's got Pokemon on top of that, where it's like people know Pokemon and they're like, I would kind of like to play a Pokemon game. Like, I would like to give it a try. And this one looks cool. Like, this is a good excuse to maybe like actually play a Pokemon game for once. Sure. I think that's going to work really, really well in its favor. And it's funny because right before I hopped on this podcast, I was talking with some of my friends, the group chat, and none of them are really like, I mean, I've got basically like a couple friends that are gamers and one of them that is kind of like a decent sized Pokemon fan, but pretty much all of them are either not Pokemon fans or they're kind of like you guys that like played the games before, but they really have not touched it in a while. They were asking me like just about the games, and I mentioned that Legends is coming out on Friday, and one of my friends chimes in. He was like, "Oh, what game is that?" I link him the trailer. I was like, "This one." 2 minutes later, he's like, "Okay, yeah, I'm buying it." Like off of one trailer. I sent him one trailer, and this is like not a Pokemon fan, and he's like, "Okay, yeah, I have to get that."
Yeah, I mean it's crazy because like if you like games like Zelda and some of the exploration, like what do the trailers show you? The riding over the open land, even the flying looks a bit more free flowing a little bit, even if it's going to end up being more glider. Like I have no idea. I haven't played the game, so I'm not really sure how the flight works. Even the swimming, like, okay, we've been able to like ride on Pokemon in water before, but never like throw Pokeballs and actually have strategy behind it. It was always just a means of, okay, this is water, got to swim across it. There really wasn't any other point. It might as well have just been land, but whatever. We have to have surf. We got to be able to do that. So I think it's really fascinating. What's going to happen with this game, guys? I have no idea. I can't tell you what my verdict is on it. I'm obviously stupidly excited, stupidly hyped. I'm having a hard time hyping responsibly for a Pokemon game, guys.
Right.
For a Pokemon game. It's insane. I'm having a hard time keeping the hype in check. And yeah, I have some high hopes here. We'll see if it hits those hopes, guys. I'll be live streaming it on Friday, and you got Hoops and Hip Hop's going to be all on top of that game, doing all sorts of content, I'm sure, for quite some time.
Yeah.
Especially lore wise. Loves the lore.
Oh, yeah.
So look forward. I mean, there's what I'm hearing, some pretty heavy lore in this game. So
yeah, and like the other thing that's just that I want to bring up too, that I'm just so super super excited about, is I could very much see this game being a game that I just like dump so many hours into. Because like I'm not a type of person that dumps like hundreds upon hundreds of hours in a game. The most I've done recently was Breath of the Wild, and that was like 150 hours. But this game just has like the way that it's set up, where it's like they recently showed it in one of the trailers about it, where it's like you've got your main story missions, but then you've also got side quests. And the way they like showed that off, where it was like the game is like literally split in half between main story missions and side quests, that leads me to believe that there's like going to be a pretty substantial amount of like side things to do. And they actually look like everything in the game looks like like nothing looks throwaway. Like going out into the open areas that you can explore, you've got stuff that you can collect so you can craft items. That looks like something you can sink a ton of time into. You've got all these side quests that obviously they're simpler because they're side quests, but they look like they've got some substance to them, to where like you could just hop onto the game even if you've already beat it and just be like, okay, I want to do a bunch of side quests, let's go like see what we can find. Like it seems like the type of game that I am just going to get lost into, which is one of the reasons why I'm so excited.
Did you have something to add?
I do have one question kind of for you guys. With all the changes that are being made and things like that to this game from the other Pokemon games, what change are you most excited about? Because I know we got like the open world. We've got the, Pokemon, you're not going into this random, pulled out of the environment, random battle screen. You got your move sets that you can interchange your different moves. And I mean, I'm sure I'm missing a few of them, but I know for me personally, I like the immersion and not getting pulled out of the world and to battle, to do this, to do whatever. You're not getting pulled out of your world. You're staying right in it. So it feels like you're actually a part of it still, and that's what's got me excited about it too. Is kind of the immersion of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I don't know if I could pick one thing, because it's like there's so many things that just hype me up so much, whether it's like being able to ride on the Pokemon, or like you said, just like seamless battles in the overworld, or I really like the way they're doing the combat, the battles, where they've got the two different styles, and one's more powerful but slower, the other one's not as powerful but quicker. That adds like strategy to it, which is going to be a lot of fun to play around with. But if I had to say the thing that draws me the most, it's probably got to be the world, because it's like I've already discussed how I enjoy the thrill of being able to like find a new Pokemon in a Pokemon game. Well, with the freedom of like exploration that this game is offering, it almost feels like it's going to be like a really, really glorified Easter egg hunt, which like really gets me excited, because like Pokemon are something that's really like, that's like the perfect thing to sort of like inject into that style of game is Pokemon, because they're so worth going out and finding and stuff. And the way they've sort of like reinforced that with all of the like the Pokedex research and stuff like that, like that just seems like it could be like phenomenally good.
So just to address a few things I saw in the chat before we move on to this next topic, which should be a super quick one. It's basically making some predictions. A few things came with the chat. One, in regards to the Nintendo's promos, I'm joking around about, oh yeah, they really care so much about content creators, selling units of this game. All I can say is this: it's not necessarily about selling units of this particular game as much as it is about relationship building. Nintendo is starting to realize content creators are important in terms of free advertising. So while, yeah, it's 22%, and who really cares? They don't need to offer 22%. It's just one of those that are just trying to be nice and build relationships around a popular game with YouTubers. So when they have their next game come out, or their next system, you're going to still be sitting there talking about it and giving them that free promotion. It's all about relationship building. Making sure that, hey, PlayStation 5 is out. Maybe don't move on and become a PlayStation channel or like this. They're not saying that, but it's all about relationship building. Besides that, there is also some people out there that, are tired of the mainline / side debate. I'll tell you right now, I don't know why some reviewers were calling it a side game. The reviewers are not Game Freak or the Pokemon Company. Right. It has been officially declared by Nintendo, Game Freak, and TPC as a mainline game. Mm-hmm. They're the only ones that are the authority on this. Yep. Reviewers are not the authority. Fans are not the authority. Doesn't matter what you say. It's like you trying to tell me Breath of the Wild is the first game in the Zelda timeline. No, it's not. It's 10,000 years after anything that's ever happened. Nintendo's already confirmed. You can't supersede the creators. Okay? It's their game. So, it is mainline. Anyone who's saying otherwise and refuses to agree with you, just go out, grab, like literally search up, is this game mainline? You're going to see some exact quotes from Game Freak and the Pokemon Company. Just link them the article. Don't debate with them. Yeah. Link the article and walk away. You're not going to be able to win the argument because you're not going to change their mind, because they're going to say my viewpoint matters more because that's the way I view it. And you know what? That's the way opinions go. You can't change them even if they're factually incorrect. Mm-hmm. You link them the proof and walk away. That's all I can tell you for advice on anyone trying to battle against that mentality. Link the proof and walk away.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that they were still calling it a side game, because
I was disappointed just like in reviewers calling it.
It was honestly like a week ago, if that Nintendo put out a tweet and they're like, what's your favorite mainline Pokemon game? And they had this graphic that had all of them, and Legends was right there on it. That was basically like them telling everyone, hey guys, this is mainline. And that was like a few days ago. Yeah. So
it was very disappointing when I saw reviews doing that. And I'm like, man, these are the people that got the privileged access to play this early and do a review. And it's okay if they don't know. You don't have to have a long history of Pokemon to get review copies. It's good to get reviews from several different perspectives. But also, you should know in basic research for your review that this is a mainline game. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah, I mean, again, I go back to how casual I am. I knew it was a mainline game. I mean,
so I think that's, on reviewers, sometimes it's good to research into the product you're actually reviewing, not just play the game and then spew out whatever crap comes in your head. It's okay. The review is about your opinion on the game. And maybe do some basic Google searches on the product you're about to play. Just saying.
Yeah, and Brian is bringing it up in the chat right now. I think it was Nintendo Life specifically that I saw today that had mentioned that it was a spin-off. And in their tweet that they posted about their review, everyone was like, they've confirmed it's a mainline game. It's a mainline game. And so like later in the day, I saw it was basically like a response article to that where they were talking about like, is it a mainline game? Is it not? And I went and like read an excerpt from it, and they're like, yes, it is a mainline game technically. Like after basically being confirmed.
Talk about thinking that your shit's gonna stink.
Where's the
it's
technical
technically
here?
a mainline, but no, there's no but. It's mainline. You don't get to decide what's mainline.
Yeah.
Like we do not have the authority as people just playing the game to decide if it's a part of the core series or not. That is not up to us. That is a creative decision, not a fan decision. I saw that defending article by Nintendo Life, and they were the only one to mention it as a side game, but I was like, man, wow. And I love Nintendo Life, but dude, it's one thing to stand by your viewpoints and stand by the author and have the editors at Nintendo Life say it's okay for you to go defend your stance on this, but also you're really coming across as a crude that no one should listen to because your opinion matters more than the actual people who made the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and also it's like we should like not be challenging them if they want to say it's a mainline game, because as we were saying earlier, that just makes it more likely that we'll get more if it's mainline.
And this reviewer gave it a 9 out of 10, so like shouldn't they be all in on the mainline train anyways? Because they clearly love the game, so I don't know why you are you afraid to say that? Maybe I think it could be one of those that I'm cool with this if it's a spin-off series. If I had reviewed this as a mainline game, maybe the score wouldn't change. Like I always wonder when you're defending that and saying technically but not really. Okay, well let's assume that it's not technically, it is. Would that change your opinion of this game? Because you obviously reviewed it in the back of your mind as this is a side game. Would your review have changed if you considered it mainline? It shouldn't, by the way. The quality of your review and your opinions of the game shouldn't change whether it's mainline. It should just be based on the game. It shouldn't be based on outside factors. But clearly, when you double down, it's like, okay, well, this clearly is something that matters to you while you were reviewing this game. because you can't even bother to just go make an edit correction and say, sorry, correction. This is a mainline game. No, technically, but it's now. No, it's not. My opinion, it's not. Anyways, there's been debates about this, guys. It's mainline. There's not. I don't even know why we debate this. It's stupid. It's not a debate. It's not even a debatable point. You link the articles and move on. Some people are just gonna. That's the way they are. They have their opinions. It doesn't matter what the facts are. They're gonna pretend that their viewpoints supersede everything else. And you know what? For that individual person, they are correct. That viewpoint supersedes everything else for that person. Doesn't change the facts. Doesn't change reality. Like, you could think we all live on the moon right now. And for you and your reality that you live in, that might be true. But it doesn't make it true for everybody else. So, and then I think there was one other point I wanted to address. About how I saw like a little debate break out about, like, there isn't a single person out there that doesn't know at least of Pokemon or know who Pikachu is. And I want to be careful when we get into this viewpoint as gamers, that just because something's really popular and been really popular for a long time, that everybody in the world knows what it is. Unless you're in a certain like 55 plus group. Why would it be a certain 55 plus group? They would have been half the age of the Pokemon series when it came out. So why are they the excused group? For a majority of their life, Pokemon's been here. The excuse that I want to throw out there for anyone who doesn't know who Pokemon is, because I actually know people in real life of all age groups that have no fucking clue who Pikachu is. No clue who Pikachu is. Oh, everyone knows who Mickey Mouse is. Believe it or not everybody knows who Mickey Mouse is. Not everyone knows who SpongeBob is. Not everyone knows, despite it being thrown in your face in commercials and posters and everywhere, who the hell Captain America is. No, not everyone knows. You want to know why? You can be on the internet. You can be out in the world. And when it's shit you don't care about, you're oblivious to it.
You just ignore it.
You're just completely oblivious to it. You know how easy it is to not care about politics, guys? Just don't care. And suddenly all the debates and all the this and all, you're oblivious. You don't know who your senator is. You don't know who this is. How can you not know? How can you know who the president is? Because you just don't care. And when you don't care, the information just bounces off of you like it's not even there. And that's what happens when it's stuff that you just don't care about. There are legitimately millions and millions and millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people that don't care about video games and have no clue who any of these characters are. You say Mario, they go, huh? Nintendo, what? Mm-hmm. What's that? And it seems so foreign to us because we are so entrenched in gaming. We have to consider what we're entrenched in when we're saying these things. We are not the people that are unaware of this. I guarantee you there's a billion things I don't know about that's happening in the science community that hundreds of millions of other people know about because that's their passion and that's what they're into. Well, how do you not know about this science magazine or this published paper or this or that or this political thing? Because I don't care about any of that stuff. But there are a lot of people that do. Just like there's a lot of people that care about video games. And not even everyone within video games is aware. You'd be surprised how sectored off gaming communities really are. I'm in a bunch of Madden leagues. Most of the people in these Madden leagues don't even know what a Nintendo Switch is. I want to let that sink in. The lead platform in the world. And I'm in this Madden league. And the only thing they really know about is when the next Madden's coming, when the next NBA 2K game's coming. They don't really know anything else happening. Oh, there was a Halo game that came out recently? What? Yeah. They're literally, I'm in the Xbox community. I'm on an Xbox Madden league, and they don't even know Halo Infinite came out. They don't even know what it is.
It's insane.
Is that a sequel to like that one game that like came out when I was back in high school? Is that a sequel? Oh, wait. Halo. Is that like an Angel game? You don't understand like how much people, when they don't care about certain things, it's like they don't exist. Even if they've had Pokemon t-shirts and cards in front of them in person at a Walmart, you're not paying attention to it. It doesn't matter to you. It just bounces off you. Like there's National Enquirer. I know that's a thing because I used to read it when I was a kid. I didn't even know they were still selling those fucking things. Mm-hmm. And apparently they're at the checkout line every time I go through Walmart. I didn't even know. Mm-hmm. Didn't even know it was even still in publication. And it's literally in front of me every time I walk through the store. So it's like, we have to remember the way the human mind works. When it's something you don't care about, you're completely oblivious. So yeah, I'm just pointing that out there when we say, everyone's going to know at least a base of what Pokemon is. No. And the thing is, I don't know if I really want that to be true either. I think it's nice that there's entire segments of people that don't know something. Because one, it means they could discover it for the first time at some point. Or two, it's just okay to have different interests in life, Totally okay. Just like it was okay for me to not like Pokemon the last 20 years. That's totally fine. Nobody has to give a shit. Speaking of nobody giving a shit and that people not knowing what the hell Switch is, we got a little update on Switch sales. According to VG charts, Switch is at 103 million units sold. That officially puts it ahead of PlayStation 1. Now, VG charts, to be fair, are not official numbers. They're more like estimates. They do update them as the real numbers come out. They're usually pretty close. They've been a lot more close to the real numbers over the last decade than they were the decade prior. That's why there's some places that'll just swear, you can't go by VG charts. Now they're talking about back when we didn't actually have the sales data numbers. Now we do. And so the information is there. Their estimates are a lot more accurate. What's interesting is even if it's not quite at 103 mil, it's probably pretty close and definitely will be after this game comes out. How many more units do we really think this thing's going to sell? Because next up, I think PlayStation 4 and then Game Boy to pass next. And then you're getting up to legendary territory where we're starting to like project into, okay, is this going to touch DS? Is this going to touch PlayStation 2? 150 million plus systems. We don't even know the official numbers for PlayStation 2 because they stop counting once they hit 155. That's why everywhere it's just 155 with a plus sign. I don't even know if Sony knows the official amount of units that actually sold of that system. You figure somewhere in the recesses of a computer system, they have like a number. This is how many we manufactured. So that's our number. But apparently that's been lost to time as well, as Sony has no official final number for PS2. 155 million plus is the official. So if it can get to 156, 157, it's pretty safe to presume it's the top. How many more units do we think Switch is going to sell? Because I think it's a shoe-in for another 20 mil easy. I think a shoe-in for another 30 mil easy. But then I don't know. So, like, Eric, give me a prediction. This is a super quick topic. We don't have to spend a lot of time debating it. For sure. Give me a prediction. I want to know because I want to look back at this podcast in a couple of years and see how close we are.
Mm-hmm. I think it all depends on how they handle it. Are we talking, is this just like Switch overall, so like light included, OLED included, everything like that, or is this like just base?
It's all together.
Okay, that's what I figured. Yep. I wanted to clarify, but that's all together. I think it all kind of goes if they start going into the iterative versions like phones, like we could, like you and I have talked about them doing, where all of a sudden it's like not necessarily a full new gen, but it's just kind of an upgraded.
I think we've passed that point. And by the way, guys, I know I love the idea of Switch Pro. We're about to enter year 6 and they still haven't upgraded the hardware. We are beyond the point of iterative updates at this point. Like, I'm sorry, we haven't had any significant hardware updates in 5 years as of March 3rd. Mm-hmm. Into year 6 as of March 4th. So I think we're beyond the idea of iterative. Because again, if you don't get a new hardware, like a literal internal hardware upgrade until year 7, that's a full console cycle.
Yeah, I mean, but it all depends on how. Again,
how
it all depends. No, it all depends on how Nintendo classifies it too. I mean, do they classify it as a new generation of consoles, or do they classify it as it's still?
Well, it's how they count the sales data. It's like it's kind of like for Game Boy. They obviously count Game Boy and Game Boy Pocket, but a lot of people don't agree with this. But they also count Game Boy Color as the same family of systems. And some people are like, no, Game Boy Color is new gen. Nintendo, just because Nintendo doesn't consider that.
It's a Game Boy.
They can still consider it all one generation. Yeah. I mean, Nintendo does ultimately determine that, clearly. Right? But just give me a number. Give me a number.
So, I mean, if that's the case where they kind of do that iterative, not saying they do, but I mean, this could hit, with another gen coming out. I mean, you could probably hit 200 million. I mean, with a new gen coming out, and if they actually do upgrade the hardware to it,
and they count it as the same, product,
I could
like
see
a Game Boy Color. Because remember, Game Boy generation, guys, went on like forever. So once you included color in, it's like, holy crap, it's like a 12-year gen.
But if they don't go that route, I mean, I could see it hitting 150, and then from there, who knows? If they don't go that route.
Okay.
But if they do,
all right. So if they go with the screw it, the next new upgraded hardware is still part of the same gen, you're all 200 million plus, which, I mean, that's a lot of units, man. That's hard for me to imagine 200 million Switches just in a room.
Right.
Hoops, what do you got over there? Toss a number out.
Well, I was thinking about it, and we're about 5 years in, as you said. we're at 100 million, so that's 20 million a year. If it could keep that average up, which I think it's fair to say it could, because it hasn't slowed down to this point. I think it all kind of comes down to how many years it has left. So if we assume maybe it has like 3 years left, so it has an 8-year lifespan or something like that, that's 60 million, give or take a little bit, that it could possibly hit. I think like 100, based on that kind of just metric, 150 is well within grasp. So I'd say maybe 150, 160.
Okay. All right. So I think it's a given there's going to be probably at least 40 mil more. It's been on pace for 20 mil each, but of recently it's been selling more than 20 mil a year. So I think as long as they can manufacture enough, they'll sell at least 25 million in the next fiscal year. If they can manufacture enough of them, and they'll manufacture enough to hit 20, but I think they'll, with the big releases, if they can manufacture enough, it'll hit 25. And then, I think even if a new gen hits next year, I think between next year and trailing sales the year after, it should, unless they just drop off the face of the cliff and there's literally no new Switch games coming after this year from Nintendo. If there's 0 new major Switch games after this year, then I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. But assuming they still have a couple major ones, at least 3 coming next year, and this again presumes worst case scenario that there's a new system coming next year, new generation, which you say worst case for sales, worst case. I think it'll at least over the next 2 years trickle in 15 mil. So that gets you to 40 million more. So it gets you to the 143, 145 range. Now, if they push the Switch as hard next year as they are this year, where this is a huge year, we got a bunch of big games, but guess what? We ain't done. We've got Mario Odyssey 2 next year. We got Pikmin 4. We've got Metroid Prime 4 landing. We've got the next Xenoblade game. We ain't done. Mario Kart 9's dropping, which would just be insane. Like, we're not done.
Well, here's the thing. All of those games you just listed are games that could, like, realistically
launch a new system.
Well, I think they could realistically happen on the Switch, because Metroid Prime 4, Metroid Prime 4, I don't think will, like,
development hell.
Like, it'll release on the Switch, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it did a Breath of the Wild type thing too, where it was like.
Oh, Switch also to those listening live, how you hear me go in and out, that's me not having very good mic presence. If you guys want to re-listen to this podcast later on our podcast channel, I level out all the audio there because I'm still technically picked up, and you'll see it in the audio file. It's just really low, but I use a professional audio leveler that'll make all of our levels even, and then I won't be low anymore, even though I have really horrible mic presence. I actually tried to make it run live on OBS, and I've got a 5900X and a 6700 XT, and it literally maxes everything out to attempt to do it live. That's why we don't do it live. I'm too worried about the stream crashing because it takes a lot of processing power apparently to do it live. So yeah, if you're listening live and you're like, man, I really want to hear everything you said perfectly, there'll be sort of little timestamps that you guys can jump around the different sections of the podcast and maybe just listen to that one section.
Join our podcast channel.
By the way, join our podcast channel. Join our Prime Podcast. Should be linked down below.
Yeah. That's a good plug.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to mention, though, along with all those games you brought up, was since the Switch is approaching PlayStation 2 territory, there's no reason to think that Nintendo wouldn't do what Sony did and just like keep it alive forever. So it's like, if it's going to have an extra long life because it's doing like this good, then that just kind of like gives it all the more opportunity to sell units and like pass that mark. So
yeah, for sure.
Like as crazy as it is to say, because 155 million is a lot, and doing like basically like 50 plus more million at this point in its life is also really crazy. I do think it's within reach.
But again, it's the Switch. We've seen crazy numbers with a lot of things with the Switch.
Yeah.
A lot of games are crazy numbers. So it would not shock me if Switch does crazy numbers.
To me, min is 145. where I think it'll stop. People might not like this, but I think it's going to stop at 151. And that makes it not the best-selling system of all time. But still the best-selling home console, because remember, Nintendo calls it a home console. Technically, it's already at that territory. It already passed Wii, so...
Honestly, though, like if I was Nintendo personally, if I was running the company and it gets to like 140 or 145, I'd be like, nah, we're keeping this going until we break the record. I'm not letting it get that close.
We're dropping this big badass game here.
Yeah,
Breath of the Wild 3. We bust that in 2 years. We're pushing to the moon. Just to get into this last topic, it's kind of a big one. But we're not going to spend like Pokemon levels of time on this. It's just about Nintendo Switch Online. I wanted to talk about this with some other people because obviously for years, a lot of people have been talking about, how can Nintendo Switch Online be better? What can they do to quote unquote fix it? And I think there's multiple levels to this because there's just the basic online services using friend codes, no online voice. No voice chat localized on the platform. Even with non-localized voice chat through an app, we can't do lobbies. We can't message anybody. It's very weird. Obviously, they have new online servers, but they're not in their old games. They're only being added to brand new games, and they didn't come up with those servers till 4+ years in. So it's really weird. And so there's the basic services. There's that. And then there's the aspect of value. As it comes to, they have NES games and SNES games, and now N64 and Genesis added it. And obviously, Tetris 99, that's fine. Mario 35 before they decided to nuke it. Nintendo, still one of your worst decisions. Don't know why you nuked Mario 35. Didn't really feel like there was a logical reason for it because it wasn't a moneymaker anyway. Just leave it alone. Right. But I digress. We're not going to go back down that territory despite Nintendo using it as an example of how to delete games on Switch on their Japanese service account, which that just felt like a really big shot to the gut. Delete games you can't play anymore because we just decided you can't. I did some math and I put this up in a video and I'm very curious on thoughts on this because a lot of people I hear when we talk Nintendo Switch Online service, the first thing they jump to are the games that get included with it. And how they really want Virtual Console instead. Virtual Console, for those who don't remember, was a system back on like Wii, 3DS, Wii U, where you could buy individual games, classic games, for what I would say were extremely overpriced pricing. $5 for Super Mario Bros. NES edition. When Nintendo was well aware, as much as they hate it, that you could just play it for free literally on your computer right now in a web browser, let alone downloading ROMs and emulators and everything in between and playing it on your phone. Like, it's available everywhere. You don't have to pay money to play that game, and you're probably not going to ever get in trouble if you don't pay money to play that game. In fact, every game on NES, N64, PS1, PS2, etc., you're probably never going to get in trouble if you emulate those games. It's just not going to happen. You can go on Amazon right now and buy an Android device for $40 that has 10,000 games, and those will be all part of it. How those are legal to sell beats the hell out of me. Shows how much regulation pays attention to people selling illegal copies of games. Nintendo, maybe you should care more about that than going after ROM sites. Just saying. Literally, they're just selling your ROMs on Amazon right now. But that's neither here nor there. I think Nintendo goes after the wrong parts of this industry. I'm trying to combat something that everyone else has basically given up on. Because once it's on the internet, it's on the internet. But I did math, and if you're really, really intelligent about the Nintendo Switch Online service and you get the expansion pack, you'd do it through a family pass. You'd be one of 8 people on that pass with the expansion pack. It would cost you only 83 cents a month, which is insane. And if you include the value of all of those games that are there as Virtual Console games with Virtual Console pricing, to hit the value of the current games available by spending 83 cents a month would take you over 1,500 years. Seems like an incredible value compared to Virtual Console when you consider that. Now, you got to consider, well, okay, that's like best case, I have 8 people scenario. I don't have that. It's just me. Or it's just me and my girl. Okay, let's say you're an idiot and you buy the family pass, but you're the only person who uses it. So I really just like giving extra money to Nintendo because I love their service so much. So you're spending an extra $20 a year more than you need to. It would cost you $6 a month. Obviously significantly more than 83 cents, but it would still take you over 15 years to spend as much money as it would take to buy all these games in a virtual console sense. And this assumes they don't add more and add Game Boy and everything else, because that's just going to make it go further and further out. Now, obviously, if you're not that dumb and you just get the individual plan, it's $4 a month. And that extends out to like 23, 24, 25 years. And it just keeps going from there. Now, obviously, I'm aware not everyone wants to buy all the games on Virtual Console. Not everyone cares about every game that's on Nintendo Switch Online. But then we have to consider in the added-in value that Nintendo Switch Online games have that Virtual Console games don't. Such as, you couldn't play Mario Kart 64 online on Virtual Console. You can on Nintendo Switch Online. Nintendo actually put development resources into taking all their multiplayer games and adding online to them from the classic library that they add to the system. Kind of neat. Now, this isn't an either-or situation. I think, obviously, in an ideal world, you have the service or the ability to buy games individually, even if they are overpriced. Your money. Spend it how you want. But I do wonder if maybe we're a little bit unfair, including myself, to the value of Nintendo Switch Online. Now, this is just comparing Nintendo to Nintendo. It gets a little muddy when you compare it to Microsoft. Mm-hmm. Game Pass Ultimate, which includes Xbox Live and Game Pass, is $180 a year for one person. This assumes you didn't take advantage of any of the $1 deals and also whatever. If you just paid full price. And you get the classic library all the way back to Xbox. Not all the games, but again, we don't get all the NES and SNES games either. But you get a hefty amount of old games. And you also get every single modern $60, well, I guess according to PlayStation, $70 games that release now that are exclusive to the platform. And even some that aren't. MLB The Show came out on there. Back 4 Blood, not exclusive, came out on their day one. Obviously, if this Activision Blizzard deal goes down, all future Activision Blizzard games, day one, Game Pass. Don't have to pay any extra, just that $180 a year. Which, if you do the math, is double the family plan for Switch if you get everything. But you're getting $60 value games, multiple of them a year that kind of justify the price in the first place, if you're interested in those games. So compared to that service, I would say Nintendo Switch Online looks like dog shit. But I think every service looks like dog shit compared to Game Pass Ultimate. So in the same vein, I could blast Sony for their services. They still don't have a Game Pass Ultimate. They have a subscription service for classic games, and then they have their PlayStation Network where you can get like a few free games a month. But they don't have anything where they're letting you get Horizon Forbidden West day one through a subscription service. You have to spend $70 minimum per game. So I look at this and I go, maybe Nintendo Switch Online ain't so bad. Now, I don't ever agree, by the way, with charging for online access. I think charging people to access the internet you already pay to access in the first place is a little weird. I already pay Charter Spectrum to even have the right to access the internet in my own house. Mm-hmm. Let alone do I pay a cell phone company to access internet again when I'm not in my house. So I'm already paying like twice to access the internet. And then because I'm using your device, have to pay to access it again. Now on my PC, I could play every game online without paying an extra fee. Except for like World of Warcraft or like MMOs that have a fee for the game itself. It's not an online access fee.
You're paying for the game.
Yeah, that's a game fee. That's not an online access fee. So, yeah. I've never agreed with this, and Microsoft's to blame because they're the one that started charging for that access in the first place back on the original Xbox. So, yeah, Microsoft's not a saint. They care about making money. So, yeah, that sucks. But that's a problem with all the platforms. Yeah, it sucks I can't message people. It sucks I can't do lobbies. It sucks that like I'm literally talking to people in my Madden leagues through my Xbox when Discord goes down. But I can't do that on Switch. The online app's not working, which runs through Google servers. Okay, cool. I just can't voice chat in my games. Oh, I'm sorry. You can if you're playing one of the free-to-play games like Fortnite. I can message people in Fortnite and I can voice chat people in Fortnite. Kind of weird when I wanted to get a hold of a friend who I didn't have contact info for, but his friends on my Switch, and I happened to saw they popped on Fortnite, so I popped on Fortnite so I could message them on the Switch to get a hold of them. Kind of weird, Nintendo, that I had to go through that many hoops when I didn't even want to play that game. I just wanted to message the guy to see if he wanted to play Mario Kart, one of your games, Nintendo.
Right.
So yeah, I'm kind of on the fence now where I go, look, Nintendo's online still sucks and they still don't know what the hell they're doing. But also, I don't know that what they're asking for is as a bad. And this isn't even considering the Animal Crossing DLC, which is going to be hit or miss, whether you view that as valuable or not. And that's really only valuable for year one. Unless they add more DLC after year one, you're kind of just paying more money for that DLC than you would if you would have just bought it on its own. So, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence here. I want to know your guys' opinion. How could they improve? And did my argument that the value actually isn't that bad convince you to change any opinions you might have had or might not have had? Or did it further your opinion that, hey, Nintendo Switch Online's great? Because I really don't know, especially for Hoops over there. I have no idea what his thoughts are on this. So,
well, I would say my general opinion is that they still need to get their online like functioning better, because for some games like Smash or whatever, obviously there's been notorious issues with just having a smooth online experience at all. So I think those are things they need to iron out, and that's kind of what is shooting the service in the foot. But otherwise, I think it's great, because even if you're an individual and you don't like split it up like you said, which just kind of makes it like basically free.
Yeah, it's let's not buck up.
You're paying $20 for a year, which is not bad, because that comes out to like less than, it's like $2 a month or something like that, or less than $2 a month,
$1.50 a month or something. It's stupid cheap if you just get the base plan. Yeah, super
cheap. And then obviously, like, let's say you don't even, like, if I don't even use the online that's like kind of buggy and messy or whatever, I still have access to all those NES and Super Nintendo games. So, like, I think overall, like, the only thing they have going against them is the bugginess of the actual online connectivity itself. Otherwise, they're golden, because, like, they, at this point, even if it's just the base plan, they're offering a pretty solid selection of NES and Super Nintendo games, and the price is really, really good too. So,
now, the one argument I will say that should exist out there, and I do find this to be an interesting one, is, so when I mentioned Game Pass, that was Game Pass Ultimate, which isn't just Game Pass. That includes Xbox Live Gold, which, by the way, basically can't use Game Pass without Xbox Live Gold anyway. So, but technically you can get Xbox Live without Game Pass. And that gives you access to play games online, the voice chat, everything else. And it's much cheaper than obviously Game Pass Ultimate. I think one of the things about this is that got to be careful between saying $20 a year, but then the online servers suck, as you just mentioned, and a lot of games they suck. Now, yeah, supposedly they have new server infrastructure that doesn't suck, but it doesn't fix the problems with the games already out and games already popular. Obviously, we're missing a lot of basic features that are on other platforms, but they do charge more money per year for their base package to have those features. So that has to be considered as well. But then there's the thought that, like Game Pass, technically those NES, SNES, N64, and Genesis games, that they do have online play as an option. You don't have to be online to play those games. They're installed locally on your system and played through emulation. Shouldn't that just be a separate service from Nintendo Switch Online? So it's a classic game collection versus, like, people kind of view it as, oh, it's just a bonus for paying for access to the internet. But it should it be a bonus, or should it just be something separate?
I would, the way it's structured now, I would definitely consider as part of the service, because, as you said, paying like to just simply pay online is kind of like it's a bit of a joke anyway.
Well, we'll think about this though. If they took away, like, I think they said there's something like 35 or 40 million people who pay for Nintendo Switch Online. I think at their last investors meeting, maybe it's higher than that now. I don't know. But I kept thinking, are they paying for the classic games, or are they paying because they're forced to play Nintendo games online? Actually, not just Nintendo games. Any third-party game you pay money for, you need to pay for the base package to play it online. Like, how many people would be subscribed if online wasn't forced behind it? Like, I fundamentally think the only reason people are subscribed in general has nothing to do with the games, but has to do with online lock. Now, the expansion pass is different. I'm very curious on what the expansion pass numbers are, because the only reason you get that's for the game. There's no other there's no other selling point to the expansion pass. It's just games. But that $20 package is access to even play online. Any game that's not free to play. So I'm very curious, like, what would happen if Nintendo removed that from the $20 package, said, screw it, you can go back to playing online games for free. I got a feeling that 40 million is going to quickly dip down to like 5 to 8 million.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate, because the only reason I have Nintendo Switch Online is so I can play online when I need to.
Exactly. Like the NES games are nice, but like, really, would I pay $20 a year to access those? I don't really know that I would.
But guys, we're missing one of the major features of online service too. The ability to access an extra store where you can only buy your controllers and your...
You can't even buy the NES and SNES controllers that work with your Switch unless you're an online member.
Remember, you get access to a special store.
A special store for that.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest points.
By the way, it's funny too, because like, people are still trying to get the N64 ones, and they just haven't been in stock since before they announced them. So it's like, I understand manufacturing is kind of a pain right now, but little transparency, Nintendo. Just be like, look, realistically, we're not going to be able to sell any more of them until 2023. All right, cool. Just let us know so we stop having hope. for those that care, anyways. Like, most people probably just want it from the nostalgia, but by the way, you can buy accessories and hook up third-party N64 controllers and stuff. But yeah.
Well, I know my cousin. He was playing his nephew in Smash, and he must have found just a normal USB N64 controller on Amazon, and apparently it works pretty well.
Yeah,
and he said he went from getting his complete ass handed to him, to turning it completely 180 around and just
N64 controllers, baby.
On him.
You guys all talk about GameCube and Smash. It's about the N64 original, baby.
Because that's what he grew up on. I mean, that's
what his skills are on.
Yeah,
skills on the hexagonal stick, baby.
Right. So, for me, with the service, I've always thought it was a decent deal. I mean, the money itself it's negligible.
I mean, you think about like things you guys waste $20 on,
right?
That are
I've wasted $20 on
that you get nothing out of
from,
like pretty much nothing,
right?
Like literally, I have children, so like they walk in my room and touch one thing, and it probably cost me $50. So like,
right. So there's that. The biggest issue that I have with Nintendo too is their communication. Like, at the beginning of the service, we got 3 NES games, or a couple NES games, couple SNES games, things like that a month, and then all of a sudden, nothing vanishes,
and no telling you that you're not going to get anything until not even a problem, like not even a hey, we're done adding NES and SNES games for the foreseeable future, but we are working on future systems for the platform.
There's
even just like a general statement, like, hey, look, we're going to add, like, we're not going to tell you what they are, but you know what, we are working on more. Please stay tuned. They don't do that. They just stop, and you don't even know what's going to happen.
Or they kind of had the original release schedule kind of once every month, but now all of a sudden it's like, maybe we'll get a game once every 3 months, and it's just randomly dropped. And it's just like,
not right now, though. Gotta give Nintendo some credit. They've done 3 straight months announcing the month beforehand that we were going to get an N64 game. Mm-hmm. They've done it again.
But again, that's a newer...
Majora's Mask is coming next month. The thing is, though, like, what happens once they did their 38 or whatever N64 games they promised?
Yep.
When they're done with that, okay, are they just done?
Yeah.
Will there be Game Boy? Will there be... Well, maybe, but they're not going to tell us.
Right. Just the communication, You mean
Nintendo doesn't communicate very well?
Yeah, right. And then
they're great at advertising their games. Maybe not so great at advertising their service.
Yeah. I mean, and then, just you've brought it up, the standard, just basics of an online service of communication. Again, it all comes back to communication. I can't communicate with my friends. Nintendo doesn't communicate with me. Nobody knows.
What I always thought was weird about Nintendo Switch Online is we pay for it. So why did I have more features on Wii U for free?
Yeah, there's that.
I had video chat on Wii U, local voice chat on Wii U, no friend codes, actual user accounts to add friends. Had Miiverse, which they later brought to 3DS, which, sure, not perfect messaging system per se, because it's not. It was like a Nintendo Twitter, but it was cool. It was neat. It felt nice. It felt like a community. Like everyone who owned a Wii U, as small as we are, could come together around specific games. And this gets into also, by the way, eShop being better on Wii U, because just from having the ability for users to rate games helps organize through the shit. This is shovelware, gets voted down like hell. This is good, gets voted up. Now, yeah, you're not going to get like a true judge of if a game's great, because every single game Nintendo releases was automatic 4.5, 5 stars, because that's just the way it is. Nintendo fans, they're going to upvote all Nintendo games no matter what, even if they haven't played
or
it.
Did Nintendo just come out and stamp it with the 4.5 star?
But they also have, because of Miiverse, additional comments that could be by people on that game, where you could find out more information through Miiverse from people who actually played the game. Like, it'll tell you this person owns it, this person's played it. Pay attention more to what that person says about the game. So, like, it was a way to get more information directly from players and not necessarily always rely on review outlets that are saying things like Legends Arceus is a side game. So, like, it was just another way to get information, and a way to get information from people playing the games is always important, especially locally on the system, where people don't have to do additional research. They could get everything they need within the system. And we had all that without them charging for it. Now they charge for it, and we have less. And the thing is, we weren't always, I think, supposed to have less. While they killed Miiverse, which I always thought was a dumb thing, I think they should have just rebranded it and relaunched it on Switch as a new type of social networking system.
Weverse.
And heck, even make it exclusive for online members, whatever. It's something we pay for to access to, fine, whatever. But what I do think would have been interesting is Reggie Fils-Aimé announced something before Switch even came out that we never got. So one exciting thing about the phone app wasn't the voice chat, because they said we were doing voice chat through a phone app really early on, and I just thought that was really stupid. We criticized the hell out of that. But they said one thing we'll be able to do in that phone app is set up future play sessions and invite friends. Oh, you want to play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tonight with friends? You could organize it right there in the Nintendo phone app, invite all your friends. You can see who's going to be coming, what time it's going to be at, and you guys know how all to get online at once. That never came. That's a feature that literally no other system has. One of the things that I thought Nintendo being like, okay, that's that Miiverse idea. That's that Nintendo is thinking outside the box and bringing an actual useful feature and a reason to maybe have a phone app, because it's cool, even with the Switches with you. It's not online. So being able to set up things with your friend. Now, it would have been cool if you could have also done it on your Switch and on your phone and had it seamlessly work together. But just having that as an ability in the phone app would be like, that's really cool. It's just like Microsoft and Sony, how they have the ability to stream play from their systems to your phone is a really cool thing. And I do that sometimes every now and then. I leave my Xbox downstairs and my bedroom's right above the studio, so I can literally stream the Xbox to my phone and play Xbox in bed. It's cool. I can do it to the tablet too or anything. I think I'll probably even stream it to the TV up there. I haven't tried that yet. That's cool. It's a neat feature. But this was a really cool idea and something that I would have been willing to pay to try out. Don't matter. It never came. I don't know why it didn't come. Don't know what happened in development hell, because clearly it wasn't. I feel like it was like an idea they had in a boardroom meeting that they tried developing it, and they're like, we don't know how to make phone apps.
Somebody forgot to tell.
We don't know how to make phone apps. We don't know what we're doing. How does this work? Our API on Switch isn't very good.
Somebody forgot to tell Reggie on the way out the door to not say anything.
Reggie, the system hasn't come out yet. Stop making promises.
Yeah, right. Oops.
You're in trouble for that.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I don't know. It was one of those things that I thought was a cool idea, but it didn't come, and they never. I don't know. Nintendo Switch Online to me, like for $20 a year, it's not like I care as much as maybe I should. Like if they were charging me $60, like Sony and Xbox do to access a year online, like then it's like, okay, I do expect more for that kind of price. I mean, I again, we all agree we shouldn't have to pay to play games online. Like that just shouldn't even be. That's stupid. We already have to pay for the internet. We shouldn't have to pay to access what we already pay for. That's just a way for companies to nickel and dime you. But, at least you get other services that I guess you can argue that, I could say you shouldn't have to pay for either, but you don't. Like if you got free online play, you don't have to use Xbox Live to talk to your friends. You do have options on the internet like Discord and phone calls and other things like that. But because you do pay them, they do give you a more convenient way to do it. So yeah, Nintendo Switch Online I think could be better in many ways. I think a lot of the things we mentioned from other companies are the way to make it better. My thing is, and I think this has been proven true with Nintendo, dating back, gosh, I mean, all the way back to the Satellaview days. I don't even know. Like, they are out of touch with online. And I don't know what it is at that company. The richest company in Japan, one of the technology capitals of the world, to be this out of touch with online infrastructure. With a company that clearly is using smartphones. I hope they're not still busting out the old Razor flip phones from back in the day or something. Maybe none of them use smartphones, so they don't understand modern technology. But it's like, you work directly with NVIDIA on this Switch product. So you're working with an American company that clearly knows about online infrastructure because they have GeForce Now, for crying out loud. You work with part manufacturers that make other electronics. And you have Sony, who literally is in your same country, that gets it. So it's just confusing to me that Nintendo leaves themselves so insulated that when they do online, it's like what they do. They just hire this indie mom and pop company off the street that was that's first time attempting to do anything online ever, versus like hiring. And the thing is like, oh, your online voice chat uses Google's voice. So you're willing to use Google as the back end of your voice. Why didn't you just hire them to make your system? Yeah. Why'd you have to do an API on top of it that isn't very good? Like
it's Nintendo. They're the old person in the room that goes, I don't know about this new dang fangled technology, and you're not going to learn.
The same thing as like the play hours. Apparently, the play hours on your system, why sometimes they get reset and random things happen to your play hours, is because it's all synced with their online stuff, and their online stuff sucks. So sometimes it acts like right now. Apparently, guys, did you know I've only ever spent a half hour playing Breath of the Wild on Switch? Ever.
Nice.
Ever.
That's impressive.
I've only got like 50 hours of live streams of it on the channel, and I've clearly played the hell out of it. Almost 100%. Like I don't. Nope. Only a half hour according to my Switch, and it's like, how can other systems so fundamentally get that? And like so I think this just comes down to Nintendo Switch Online can be better, but it has to be. Nintendo has to want it to be better, and if they don't, like as Hoop said over there, like think about the attitude he had. It's just $20. Who cares for the base package? Yeah, $20 isn't that much. Right? I mean, to take my kids to McDonald's, it's more than $20. Like $20, big deal. Like we're adults now. We're grown adults. We have real bills, real responsibilities. $20 ain't no thing.
I honestly forgot I had it.
Yeah, I mean, $20 ain't no thing. Yeah. Like how many of us have subscription to Netflix? Oh, it's going up to $20. We don't give a shit. When it hits our bank, it hits our bank. We just move on with our day. Like we don't care. As long as we're still watching it. It might be a reminder. Oh, hey, you're subscribed to Netflix. Oh, yeah, but I was just watching it yesterday, so I'm not gonna cancel that. Oh, hey, your Nintendo Switch Online thing just hit. Yeah, but I was just playing Splatoon 2 the other day online, so like I'm not gonna cancel that. So like we don't think, to us it's like, okay, who cares? And I think that's true of a lot of adults, by the way. With a lot of the subscriptions we subscribe to, is there's so little amounts of money that we don't care, even though all of that adds up to quite a bit. If you think about all the subscriptions could be hundreds of dollars a month. But the thing is, because of the attitudes like that, and this isn't about Hoops on this spot specifically, they don't really have an incentive to improve.
Right.
We're already making money hand over fist as is. We have 40 million plus growing every year. Why do we need to improve?
Well, I think they've sort of hit themselves. They've got themselves into like a real sweet spot, even for all of the like deficiencies that it has.
Well, the price point, I think the price point helps a lot. If they were charging $60, I think that
the price is good enough to where you
people aren't willing
don't
to
have
complain.
to care.
Not enough people are going to care.
The only people who are going to complain are people that are hardcore online multiplayer gamers, which isn't a Nintendo person in general anyway. So it's like you don't really have enough pushback there for really to make a difference. Like I can stand here all day and say,
statement.
yeah.
Because when you look at Nintendo's top selling games, yeah, you get your Breath of the Wilds and your Mario Odysseys up there and all that. But you have Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best selling game on the platform and massive online mode. Splatoon 2, 15 plus million on the platform, one of the best sellers. Massive online mode. Pokemon games, huge up on the sales charts. What's one of the biggest aspects of it? Trading, playing with friends online. All requires online connections. You have to pay for the service for that. And for some reasons, you got to pay for the bank and other things too on top of that because everyone's got a nickel and dime you everywhere. There's all that. So like I'm not so sure that like the average Nintendo fan like doesn't really care about it anymore because it feels like the most popular games growing on Switch and growing by Nintendo all use online.
Well, I think it depends on what game you play too, because I've played like obviously I've done some Pokemon trading and things like that, and like for at least my experience, I haven't really had any trouble when I'm playing Pokemon, but I think that's because the connectivity side of it isn't as like intense.
It's like a turn-based thing too,
Yeah. So it's like easier for their servers to hand it. Whereas
like, even if there was a hitch, you might not even notice because it's turn-based.
Right, but it's like I think really the only games that are going to have any like significant issues where people are going to speak up is going to be Splatoon and Smash. Maybe Mario Kart because so many people have it.
DC issues have been huge in that game.
Yeah. So like obviously people, and obviously like it is an issue that people are talking about because we're here talking about it.
Right. But I also think like we're in more of the hardcore Nintendo audience, I guess to say. We create content on the internet about Nintendo stuff. Like clearly we're not the average consumer at this point. He's probably the closest one to the average consumer of the three of us because he doesn't have his own content creation channel, and he probably still only plays games on Nintendo because of me. I have no idea. Maybe I don't know.
No.
Well, no.
I mean, I do have my Xbox.
No. I said on Nintendo.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
As an example, would you have ever played Breath of the Wild if I didn't bring you to E3 2016 and you played the demo? Because it's easy to say. That is because you would have never actually tried it.
It is hard to know.
You probably would have never even watched me play it.
Maybe not.
How many games before we started doing the podcast together have you ever watched me play in the last decade?
Yeah, I mean,
so like I kind of dragged you in.
No, I know.
And now I'm not taking credit for the reason that he loves Breath of the Wild. That's credit to the game makers, but it's kind of you got drug in because of me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you regret that. Clearly you don't, because you're playing gaming experiences that are awesome. But it's one of those things that I'm not part of the general gaming populace anymore. I'm not, and I know it. So maybe I care more than like my kids who they have Switches too. I've never once heard them say one damn thing about Nintendo Switch Online. Why? Because their parents take care of it. So like, I wonder, and then by the way, this is not me saying a majority of the Switch audience is kids. There is a huge audience that is, but I'm sure it's still not the majority. The last official numbers we got from Nintendo was mostly adults, but still, even if it's like a 60% adult over the age of 18, 40% under. It's still an interesting thing where I don't know that many people care enough because we are in such a society where we're just used to, you got to subscribe to play online. Like, okay, you got to subscribe to everything. Mm-hmm. Oh, you want commercial? You don't want commercials on Spotify? Better subscribe. Oh, you don't want this? Better subscribe to this. We're just so used to it, and I feel like that's the culture we're in. That I feel like general consumers just don't care. They've been kind of nurtured. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, microtransactions suck ass. Watching ads on your mobile phone game for a minute and a half between matches or between even doing like a turn in a turn-based game sucks ass. And yet we've been conditioned to it and we're still playing those games. So it's like almost like we've accepted it as a larger part of society. So can Nintendo Switch Online get better? Yes. I don't think it gets better until the next system because for some reason Nintendo just reboots their online with every platform they release for some reason. You can't just keep the same and improve on top of it. I was so hoping they were going to keep the Wii U account system going and improve on top of it, but they didn't. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Obviously, none of us are Nintendo, and we don't get to make these decisions. All we can do is, in a rare opportunity at an event where maybe we get to talk to some Nintendo employee, like if I ever get a chance to say something to Bill Trennan in person, only thing I'm going to say is, hey, man, you know your online service isn't that great, right? I'm not talking about the games. I'm talking about the basics of your online functionality, right? Isn't good. And I want to see if his raw reaction is, dude, just face palms. You don't even got to tell me. Because he says, I've been telling them forever. They don't listen to me, man. I just want to know, like, Bill Trennan, like, you know, buddy, right? Like, Reggie Fils-Aimé, I want to sit down with him and be like, so when you were at Nintendo, you knew this, right? Like, you said something, right? You didn't just sit there and just, oh, your decisions, you literally told them that, like, hey, man, we should be able to message people. Like, that was a thing you brought up at some point. Please say you at least, I just want to know, like, is Nintendo of America's branch even mentioning what people want? Or are they just kind of like, nope, Nintendo of Japan, you're cool. Or, hey, is it Nintendo of America's fault? Maybe they're like, guys, we don't have to add any of these features and we can still charge them, right? Save that money. These consumers are suckers, baby. They'll buy anything we put in front of them, just slap Nintendo's brand on it. Oh, it's not an online service. It's the Nintendo Switch online service. You're going to buy that, right? Oh, wait, we can't call it Nintendo Switch account system because we want to give them the idea we're going to carry this over in the future. So it's the Nintendo account system. Trust us. Everything carries over to a platform that doesn't exist. Right. Nintendo's a funny company that way. All right, I think that's going to wrap it up. It's been a good show. You guys should definitely go check out Hoops and Hip Hop, especially if you're looking forward to some Legends Arceus content coming out, because you know us guys, we'll do our live stream and all that, but I'm not going to make a ton of videos about this game. Maybe one, initial and final impression video, probably. That's probably all you're going to get out of me for that. Besides maybe one more podcast conversation as like a finality thoughts when it's been a couple weeks and we've all sat down and played it a bunch, and then be like, all right, cool. Let's just give our final thoughts. Did this game live up to it? Did it not? Likes, dislikes, once we have experience. But besides that, I think it's pretty much it for our content on it. Whereas I fully expect Hoops and Hip Hop to have dozens of videos on this game coming in like the next month. Like just rapid fire, because him and all the other Pokemon content creators, even the ones that don't like the game, they're going to have dozens and dozens of videos of why they hate this game. So it's going to happen. Yeah.
I'm hopefully going to be talking about how much I love it, and I'll also be covering just like anything and everything about it, just stuff I find interesting, opinions, things like that. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, so go check out his video, guys. Mm-hmm. Do you have want to tease any video you have coming right before it drops, or are you just done now until the game comes out?
As far as until the game comes out, I don't have any uploads in the meantime, but once the game comes out, it's all systems go. I'm probably going to be like this weekend, I'll have a couple videos, either just talking about like my first impressions,
initial impression,
like, and like things I found in the game, stuff like that. I kind of have to ease into it spoiler wise, but yeah, it'll be.
Yeah, you want to take it all in. You want to take it all in.
Well, yeah, once it drops though, it's all systems go.
It's all systems go. Okay. Mm-hmm. So yeah, go check out Hoops and Hip Hop on YouTube if you guys haven't. Again, I dropped the link in the chat already for it. There's also a link down in the description as well, especially if you're listening on our podcast channel. If you're listening to the audio version, there will be a link in the little text about section for this episode 36 to go check him out if you enjoyed his banter on this podcast. I definitely enjoyed having him on.
Yeah.
It was awesome to have you here, man. I love having a wide variety of content creators on our podcast that know a hell of a lot more about the things we're talking about than I do, because I
don't.
Because he don't. And sometimes I say a lot of stupid shit and nobody corrects me. So it's nice to have someone who actually knows something about Pokemon, because, man, as I said, my last experience with Pokemon ended with double middle fingers and a delete. So,
yeah, I mean, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's definitely good to just be able to talk about it in general, like with someone, instead of just like talking to a microphone by yourself or a camera or something.
I think that's the one thing about content creators that like people on the other side don't realize, especially for content creators that are just one person. It's like, you realize that we spend a majority of our day talking to ourselves and then listening back to ourselves as we edit a video. Like I saw a comment the other day on one of my videos, man, this guy sure likes the sound of his own voice. And I'm like, to be honest, my voice annoys the shit out of me. You know how much I have to hear you think you hear your voice a lot, my voice a lot? I have to hear it on repeat 50 times a day as I'm editing and recording. Like, I'm just saying, like, I don't know if people realize, like, it is kind of weird when you think about, like, here I am, like, I'm on camera all the time. So here I am in front of a camera in a room by myself talking about video games and trying to act like I have an audience that's not actually there. It's a camera lens that just shows myself looking back at me.
Right.
I am my own audience. So, like, it's kind of a weird world that content creators live in. But I hope you guys all appreciate the content that we were able to put out and the passion we put into that stuff. Obviously, check out his content. I'll be watching some of it over the weekend when I'm taking my breaks between playing the game. And yeah, obviously go check out Eric over on Twitter. He's got a Twitter account at emo8790.
Yeah.
Most people that follow him are just people that, I guess, won giveaways back during E3 last year. Because you were the communicator. I don't know.
Or the you get an extra entry.
Go follow Eric.
I mean, I don't.
If you tweet at him on Twitter, he'll read it.
Yeah.
Probably won't say anything.
Don't necessarily mean I'll respond.
No, but he does read it all.
I do.
If you mention him, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I got the notification. I'll check it out." Okay, cool. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, whatever.
Otherwise, you can subscribe to our podcast anywhere the podcasts are heard: Spotify, iTunes, the Apple, the Google, whatever thing it is. I don't even know what they call their Google podcast service or Google whatever. I don't know, but I basically put it on one service and it brings it to everything else, so I don't have to worry about that. But we do have people that listen on there because I can see what platforms and services that people are listening to. And surprisingly, I'm actually I don't know if this is like normal with podcasts. Our audio version is primarily listened to by 65% of people using iPhones. Interesting. Makes up most of our audience. Very interesting. I didn't realize that a huge part of our audio listening audience was an iPhone user. So I find that quite interesting, since I think Android actually makes up a majority of the market. So I don't know. Kind of cool. Maybe that speaks to... I don't even know what that speaks to, really.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know most of my audience on my channel is over the age of 25. So maybe do older people just like get on iPhone back in 2007 and go, "We're never getting off. We're never getting off. We know this platform, never learning anything else." I have no idea. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Check out Hoops and Hip Hop yet again. Catch you guys in the next episode.
Later.
See you guys.